Oh Lord. It is that time again. Hello everyone. Wrong one, wrong one. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome back. We're back on our Mithra character who is destined at some point to die, almost assuredly, but it is not today. If I have any control over it at all, she's gonna live forever. We're gonna get her to 75 on every job, and she is going to become legendary on the server. I don't know why I feel this way. I have no empirical knowledge or factual basis for believing or feeling this way. It's going to come to fruition. She is definitely not going to die in the next few hours, because that would be a line of thought that is so absurd. I cannot even begin to comprehend a response to you. If you genuinely believe that, it's just not possible. All right, let's get her up. Remember, scroll lock and stand. There she is. Say hi. She is in her traditional Mithran attire, which is to say like almost nothing. I don't know if it's just like very hot in Windurst, or if they hail from Kazam primarily and the jungle is just very hot, so they feel like this is just the way that their clothes have to be. I don't know. I should know, considering how much time I've invested into the game, but you know, that's where we're at. So what are we doing today? Now that I've sufficiently blabbed, we're going to be trying to take Miss Hardcore Ironman outside and have her kill huge amounts of indigenous wildlife for at least 3 to 4 hours, getting her from level 1 Black Mage all the way to level 10. And then seeing where we're at with the time frame afterward. I don't know if there's going to be any partying today, probably not, just because it's a whole affair where I prefer to give parties that I'm a part of at least 2 hours of my presence before calling it. I don't think there's going to be enough time to party, but we'll just play it by ear. So I've already got her equipped. I've already got her set up with her medicines and her pineapple drinks and everything. She fucking loves pineapple drinks, dude. Slams them back on the daily, she tells me. We're gonna get her outside. Probably to the mines, just because it has the closest throughput from inside to outside. And while I'm getting her en route to get Signet, I'm going to do my typical spiel in that I am a recent affiliate. Being affiliate means that I am forced by the Lord Commander Bezos himself to run ads. I can control, so to speak, to an extent, when the ads happen, but I cannot stop them happening at all. If I could stop them happening at all, I would. I cannot. I can only influence when they happen. And so that's going to be probably every hour or so for about 90 seconds on average. The first wave of ads you haven't experienced. Although they do support me, I don't like them. You can make a huge impact on me economically, emotionally, so on and so forth, and avoid ads entirely by subscribing. It also makes the line go up, and everybody do be liking when the line goes up. Isn't that right, guys? Isn't that right? A little bit louder for everyone in the back. Okay, so typical fashion, like last time we raised something from level 1, we are going to have her eat an entire egg in front of everyone. Eating a egg of some description, colored or party, is going to give her a massive HP and MP boost, effectively double the amount at level 1, and then we're just going to rest up a little bit. She should be sub-job White Mage, right? She should have access to cure. Was I smart enough? I was not smart enough to macro in cure, so we'll just do that now. Cure / cure me, because I'm the only one that I'm going to be partying with for the next 10 levels. And we're going to get a charge of Chariot Band on her so that she accrues experience as quickly as humanly possible. Because she's a black mage, she's going to be able to destroy stuff pretty easily, so I am not worried at all about her damage output. The only thing that I'm worried about is making sure that I do not overextend at all. So we will just... I need to change these from BT to T. That way I don't confuse myself, have them set all to BT. I'm going to set them to just T for target, so that I don't have to already be actively engaged in battle in order to do my thing. All right, let's get started. Start beating bees up. So the last few weeks for the stream have been incredibly good. People have been very supportive overall of the channel and its intent, which is not just to bring you primarily Final Fantasy XI content, but also to help anyone that is inclined to talk about different philosophical concerns, which doesn't just comprise of the types of talk that you would expect when you hear that word, such as, is the table that you are looking at the same table that I'm looking at, based off of differences in light, or how can you know whether or not we're surrounded by spaghetti monsters and we just don't know it? Not that type of talk. I'm talking about like actual practical philosophy. Like, what should you do in a situation where you're like stuck in traffic and there's nothing that you can do about it and you're already late, and so on and so forth? How do you use philosophy in order to calm yourself down, or even think of the situation constructively? Or like, how, if we put into Final Fantasy XI terms, how do I come to grips with the fact that I've been hunting Leaping Lizzie for like 4 days straight, and this is like the 7th time that I've successfully claimed Leaping Lizzie, and I still have not gotten the boots? How do I help myself work through that in a healthy psychological way? That's the type of philosophy that I'm talking about. So if you have any questions at any time about anything, either related to Stoicism, which I have practiced and practicing for about like 7 years now, 9 years actually, looking back on it, or if you have anything, any questions related to Final Fantasy XI, I am not an expert, but I do know more than I probably should. I have done not professional deep dives because I haven't done any videos on it yet, although I arguably should. I just know stuff. So while I wouldn't be able to give you any kind of insight on any kind of end game type material like Dynamis or trying to think of something else. Dynamis is pretty much like the end all be all. HNMs would be another one, hyper notorious monsters. I wouldn't be able to tell you, for example, how to like 1v1 Behemoth and like Cliffham Island, but I would be able to tell you how to reasonably make gil when you are new, or what kind of like party combinations you should ideally be looking for when creating a party for a first time, or like even what types of level ranges you would want to aim for if you are on XYZ level, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's where we're at. It is good to be back in the saddle. We played Foxhole last time on Wednesday. Foxhole is a World War II alternate reality massively multiplayer online experience where up to 240 players can be playing on any given front, of which there are about 6 to 8 fronts happening at any one time. It is a very fascinating game in the sense that there is literally nothing like it. If you hear the sounds of something that seems like it's suffering in the background, that is the sound of my dog's bouncing ball that makes noise to stimulate the fact that she's hurting it, so it like activates her drive instinct. I guarantee you that everything is fine. What are they talking about? Oh yeah, Foxhole is a very interesting game. It is not the most fascinating thing to watch. Sometimes it is not the most fascinating thing to play, in that it mirrors actual war pretty effectively, and that it is like sometimes it consists of hours of waiting for something to happen, and then maybe like 5 minutes of like non-stop action, or you're driving a tank or something, trying to get from A to B, just to trying to find a front for almost like 2 hours in like a 500-ton war machine, and then that like comprises like your entire playtime. Other times you are literally fighting for inches of land at a time over the course of like 3 hours. There's no predicting it. It is a game that I struggle with, and that I've invested so much time into it, almost the same amount of time that I've invested Final Fantasy XI into. But I would say that Final Fantasy XI is more of my speed, and not just because it has like actual cat curls in it. Though everybody loves those, am I right? Hell yeah.
Meow, meow. Ooh, woo.
Meow.
Everybody do be loving those. So the experience ring is getting us there pretty fast. I don't believe that even at our current speed, which is allegedly 22,000 experience per hour, that we're going to be able to make it to a party in the same space. If it seems in the unlikely event that we're going to be close enough to get to a partyable state, then we'll kind of, you know, play it by ear from there. But it might take us a minute. We might have to get lucky on some stuff. I don't know, maybe like meds and like pineapple stuff will make up the difference. Pineapple stuff being the pineapple drinks I can slam back for MP. Oh, look at that, we have Shiny Strike. Very exciting. I'm gonna freaking own this Fisher. And by freaking own, I mean slam back a pineapple juice, because the fact that it only took 7% there concerned me. I do have potions in case things get bad. I do not anticipate that they will get bad, but I do have them if they do. It seems a little bit stronger than the other one that I fought with. I'm not panicking, you're panicking. I'm doing 9 damage to it, it's not that bad, but we're definitely going to take a rest after this. Well, actually, we might not need to, because we're already, like, at the cutting edge. Look at that, dude. Totally planned.
Ja pierdolę, jakie bydle! Bober!
Yeah, I meant for that to happen. 87 to 87. Equal HP, MP, let's go. We love Symmetry Gaming. Yeah, like I was saying, Foxhole is a very fascinating game. It's occurring to me as I play more and more with it, that it perhaps is not a good game to stream. That is not to say that you cannot find success in streaming it, and that there's very few dedicated Foxhole streamers because of the reasons that I had explained prior. The ones that do have a very dedicated fan base, and that they're willing and understanding of just how the game flow is, and that it's like a whole bunch of stopping and starting. Other streamers like Moydog do interject a bunch of stuff in between Foxhole, so they'll play Foxhole for an extremely long string of time, and then they'll just mix in like a bunch of like Squad or Hell Let Loose or whatever in between. I have since swapped out Foxhole as the dedicated game that is going to happen ride or die on Wednesdays, and I have replaced it with the descriptor variety. I do want to start sooner than later introducing a number of games that I would find more interesting if I were watching my own channel. Namely, like the new-ish Near Replicant game that came out that I've been genuinely interested in because I never played the very first one. And I did want to play it, and I've heard that this new version of it is extremely good. And it was on sale for about 30 bucks, which, you know, apparently hit that special barometer for me where I felt like it was okay to reach out and buy it. I've heard very good things about it. Fire Emblem 3 Houses and 3 Hopes are just kind of chilling. I'm not going to go for that Stone Eater. I would be crazy to do that. It is tough. It would hit me as hard as I would hit it, at range or not. So we're just going to keep floating around and grabbing bees. All my homies love killing bees. Fire Emblem 3 Hopes and 3 Houses, both of which I have experience with. Very good games, very watchable. Everybody loves their 3 Houses. Your mileage may vary if you enjoyed the most recent Fire Emblem game that came out. Conceptually, I thought it was very cool. The protagonist design still kind of makes me want to throw up. If you are not familiar with what the protagonist looks like, just type Toothpaste Chan into Google and it comprises like the first 50 results. It's not a bad game. It's just if you go into it expecting it to be the same type of like drama, pseudo political, dark-ish fantasy that 3 Houses was, you're not gonna find it there. It's not aiming for that angle. And some people found that to be their thing. Did I go for the same? I did go for the... Look at that. I'm just gonna run away from this. I went for the worm that I explicitly told myself I was not gonna go for. We're just gonna let that be aggro and heal up a little bit. I'm so focused on talking. I didn't even heed my own warnings. Can you believe it? I'm just gonna go for the small price. I'm gonna go for the small price until we're level 5 and then we can more reliably deal with the worm. They're still going strong on the experience ring. It benefits you earlier than later for sure, and that it gives you a stipend of like a rolling 4,000 experience that it gives you as a bonus over time, which is basically like buying or investing stonks into like 5 levels at a time right out of the gate. Is very good. And it also so happens that these earlier ones are giving us pretty good experience still, particularly with the ring. If we didn't have the ring on, they'd be about like 70. Not a huge difference, so to speak, but enough of a difference without it. But it feels like we're making progress much, much faster. And who don't be loving the progress? All right, one more should do it. One more should get us to the next level, and then we won't have to rest at all. So we've achieved level 5 in about 20 minutes. It is possible at this rate that we will be getting into like a partyable state. It is very unlikely though, to be honest with you. If only because from here, every level that we get keeps incrementally increasing the amount of experience that we need towards the next. So we're definitely gonna feel a huge slowdown, not just I'm not gonna waste water on that. Not just when we run out of experience charge, but just in general, around level 7, it feels like we have to crunch through a lot more monsters than we otherwise would. But that's just how it goes. We're gonna go seek revenge on that one worm that we had avoided prior. I'm gonna tune down Spotify just a little bit because I have the impression that it is a little bit loud. There we go. That should be better. Maybe even a little more. That looks good. Was this my friend? No, that wasn't the friend. That was it. The one that we were messing with before. So I'm gonna go east. Not east, west. East is the ocean. I'm gonna go west and I'm gonna start dealing with the hornets, the man-eating hornets, because they are gonna give us considerably more experience. And they also crucially give us beehive chips. So let's, because it was asked in the last stream that we did, a lot of like generally new person questions, what sort of things should you be trying to do as a level 1? Let's just pretend, just for the sake of example, that we are a brand new level 1. We don't have a sub job. If you're not familiar with what a sub job is, don't worry about it for now. You've created your character on the Horizon website because that just so happens to be the way that you do it on the Horizon private server. You have gone into your nation of choice. For me, that has always been Bastock. That's just what I've always been used to. It would be so deeply strange of an experience for me to start anywhere else. It's just like through a sheer force of habit. You don't know what's going on. You don't know where you are. You just picked something that seems good out of the 6 jobs that were available to you at the time. Or let's even go further, further back than that. You're looking at the 6 jobs. What types of jobs, or what type of job should you pick? I had an Angry Orchard before this, so bear with me. I may seem like a little bit out of pace. I do not consume much alcohol, so when I do probably too fast if it's something that I enjoy. And Angry Orchard do be something that I enjoy. No. So you're staring at the Horizon 11 website and you're not sure what you're supposed to pick. You're looking at all the different races and the job combinations and you're thinking to yourself, I have no idea if this is going to matter. I am just going to pick something that like looks tough or cute, and that's totally valid. Absolutely pick whatever seems to you to fit your headcanon of what your character would look like. If you're not sure what type of character you're gonna want, as in like you're kind of like stuck in between all the choices, and being very small in a Tartaro doesn't appeal to you, being a cat girl doesn't appeal to you, being a very big gorilla man doesn't appeal to you, that's totally fine. You're just not sure. Then you could pick like something like a Hume, which is like the most forehead choice for sure, in the sense that in terms of appearance, it's just a guy. you're just playing a guy. Some people are into that. I evidently am one of them, and that I picked a Hume for my main character. Just picked a Mithra this time around for something different. Regardless of what race you choose when or what one you're initially going to gun for, while you are stuck as that race, as that character, literally forever, any race can do any job in the game. Any job being like any class of character. Like there's nothing in the game that is hard limiting you from playing any particular like mage job or melee job or range job or tank or anything like that. They do each have some attribute proclivities that maneuver them in the lore or the canon towards certain archetypes. So for example, elven characters, which are just like elves, they're elf people, they have high mind and relatively high strength and high vitality, if I remember correctly, because I do not play elven often. That mashup of slight attribute differences, it like increases over the others, that like kind of lends them to being a paladin, because paladins, you know, they are going to be curing, so they're going to be making use of the mind stat. They're going to be being hit a lot, so the vitality stat very, 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 very slightly reduces the maximum amount of damage that they can take from, you know, rolls and stuff like that, like damage rolls. They have, I believe, more HP than MP. Don't quote me on that. I believe that that's the case. If you pick, basically, it doesn't matter what you pick. If you pick a Mithra character, which is a cat girl, which is what I'm playing now, or an elven, or a hume, you're going to generally be where you need to be to do anything. Galka and Tarataru are on the complete ends of the HP MP spectrum, and that like a Tarataru has less health at the maximum level cap than a Galka would by far, but they also have the most magic points, which helps them be more magey more often late game. Galka have the inverse problem, and that they can be hit a few more times by generally hard things. It's like playing on my hardcore Ironman character. Check it out. Check it out. It's so inclined. Twitch.tv. Rosa. Oh, thank you. Dang, all the hornets got cleaned out. So Galka would make very good tank characters, but they do struggle doing magey things late game, just because they have arguably, just spitballing it, like 3 to 4 spells less worth of MP than other types of characters, for sure. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Like, you can make up any shortfalls, such as they are, with combinations of equipment and food and knowledge. Noise. How many people in chat? We have an even match there, so we're just gonna go and deal with that. That is... I need to swap out my shit here. What about Dia? I don't have Dia yet. Casting water on a crab, perhaps not the smartest idea, in the sense that they are very obviously water-based creatures. However, in this game, just because something is theoretically strong against an element that you're casting on it, does not mean that you're not also going to be doing a good amount of damage. The difference maker is whether you are resisted, and if so, by how much. The more skill that you have in whatever it is that you're doing in relation to the monster, and then it compares it against their stats, the more likely you are going to have pretty good accuracy against whatever it is that you're going to be dealing with. I'm very lucky that that did not do more damage to me. So if we're fighting things that are comparable around our level, it does get a little bit spooky. But that is okay. We do have different ways of dealing with spicier situations. So you're looking at your race and you just pick one that looks good. Just for the sake of example, let's assume that it was like a Tartaro or something. Just because you start out as a Tartaro does not mean that you are locked into doing mage shops forever. Like I explained, you can be a Tartaro Paladin if you want, and it could even be good in a different sense because you're going to have more MP to spend on cure spells, which you can then use to draw hate towards yourself more effectively, keeping the monster's attention on you, which is ideally what you want because you're the one that has all the defensive tools and the defensiveness that you would want in a tank. So just like you pick a race that applies there that interests you, just from their general appearance or vibe, you would want to aim for a job that you are interested in, but will also help you utility wise. So what do I mean by that? So it's difficult to know what you don't know, obviously. If you don't know that you're going to be at a relative disadvantage by starting out brand new as a thief for various party mechanic reasons, you're going to be roughing it for a little while. You will get parties from people that are inclined to invite thieves that are under a certain level for various reasons, sometimes out of kindness. But so I guess the moral of the story is don't pick thief right out of the gate. If I can tell you one job to not aim for right off, it would probably be that. The reason I'll go into it a little bit why. The reason you don't want to go into thief right off is because before you have your sub job, which is like considered a critical component in your power level as a player, you are very, very weak in general. You will struggle to hurt things effectively. Your MP and HP values are going to be a little bit lower than you would like. You're not going to be in the best position to do the types of things that a thief is generally expected to do, such as like affording ranged items to just like toss at whatever, because you're going to be, you know, as a thief, you're generally expected to be a ranged like puller for the party, dragging monsters back to camp, getting their attention, that sort of thing. So it puts you in a kind of a rough position. Did this thing fully resist my water? No, it didn't. It just seemed like it did. Can this thing die, please? I really appreciate it. Thank you. So that's my hard recommendation, is just don't pick thief if you are just starting out, especially if you are completely brand new. You can definitely get more mileage out of it if you choose to like approach it kind of in the same headspace that you would if you are picking like the depraved option in like a Dark Souls game, where you start off with like a wooden plank shield and a club and like level 1 and like literally nothing else to your name. If you want to do it as like a hardcore option, go for it. My recommendation is, if you want to be a melee focused person right out of the gate, you would want to pick warrior. Warrior is the de facto tank unless there happens to be paladins around until about level 12, and then after level 12 you start to incorporate ninjas as tanks into your general party composition, your framework, and that's it. Like and then, you know, your mileage may vary whether you interpret warriors to be tanks long term. I am of the opinion that they can perform as tanks pretty much anytime. Arguably not as well as ninjas and paladins late game, but they definitely can. So warrior as your first if you want to be a melee job. let's assume that you want to be a mage job instead. It is perfectly valid to be a black mage, white mage, or red mage, whatever your preference. There are certain arguments that I would make towards picking white mage before anything else. The primary reason is that you are going to be in a position to be a automatic invite for a very long time when parties are being formed. People, no matter what level you are, 1 or 10 or 75, if you're forming like parties to go out to a place and kill, you know, tons of wildlife for short-term gains, as you do in this game, people need healers. Like, you're not gonna not take damage. Like, at some point, even if you're a Ninja 37 that has access to multiple types of shadow tools, at some point the shadows, you're not going to be able to maintain shadows fast enough and you're going to take damage. It's just the way of it. White mages are the game's iconic and not Ubisoft iconic, I mean like literally iconic healers in the game. They are literally all about healing and then some debuffing. They have almost no access to any type of damaging spells. I would like to heal. Can I heal? Why can I heal? Hello? There we go. That was freaking me out. I tried to mash heal and it wasn't letting me. They're the de facto healers. Just watching my health here. It's getting admittedly pretty low. I would like to kill the monster. Thank you. Look at that, dude. Let's go.
Rar, X3. What's this? A wall?
Okay. That's very good for me. So pick a white mage, and not just because you are going to be an almost certain party invite at some point while you're having your little looking for party flag up, but because later on as a white mage, you're going to get access to 2 very mission critical spells, Sneak and Invisible. Sneak matters in that it stops you from being able to be heard by monsters that are aggressive and are inclined to go after you whenever you enter a certain radius away from them. And you get access to Invisible later on. Invisible is just the same thing, it's just that when you don't enter the monster's cone of vision, or that when you enter the cone of vision of the monster, that you don't get attacked. There are some very rare, typically late game monsters that can see through your Sneak and Invisible, or hear rather, but it's, for all intents and purposes, it's going to save you money. And how is that? So the reason why having access to Sneak and Invisible as a spell saves you money is because the only normal other way of getting on-demand Sneak and Invisible on you is either having somebody else cast it on you, or to buy these things called silent oils or prison powders from the auction house. Typically, they are very expensive. Particularly so before you have any type of like long-form income. It could just be very hard to afford. Like, you might be able to get away with buying one every now and again, even though the auction house is more tailored towards buying in bulk than individual amounts. Just like real life. You spawn. I hate that for me. Can I please? I would like to not die here, and therefore delete the character as per the code. This is the way. Love it. I love that for me. Silent streamer. Streamer quiet. There we go. Not even close, baby. Is it getting us down to almost half health every time? Sure. Am I concerned about it? Mildly. So sneak and invisible, one at 18, the other at 25, is going to be a good reason to aim for at least taking white mage to 18. Black mage is, if you don't care about healing at all, that's just not how you want to start or anything. The second method that I would recommend is the black mage. Black mage is the inverse of the white mage, and that, as its name implies, it is all about doing damage. It's all about casting spells and debuffing and stuff like that to hurt the enemy. As a black mage without a sub job, you have no access to any healing spells at all. The way that you help your teammates later is by doing things like using this job ability, which you have access to just de facto at a certain level, called Elemental Seal, and then you pair that with either a spell called Bind, which freezes the enemy in place as long as they're not attacked, and Sleep, which causes the enemy not to act at all as long as they're not attacked. That is the way that you help your teammates. So you would want to get white mage as a priority, in my personal recommendation, in order to get it up to level 18 to have access to sneak, and for another reason. My recommendation after that is to then get black mage to 18 or at least 17. At 17, they get access to warp, which is a massive utility tool, and that you can, no matter where you are in the world, as long as you have the magic points for it, you will be able to take yourself from that point on the planet's surface and put you back to whatever you had set as your home point, as whatever your home base is. It's a hugely convenient and definitely worth pursuing. I'd like to pass. Thank you. There we go. There we go. So why all this talk about getting jobs, these specific jobs, to 18? 18 is the minimum level that you can be in order to unlock this thing that I've been blabbing about the entire time, called a sub job. A sub job is an unlockable component of the game that you unlock in a place called Selbina or Mahara. Depending on what nation you choose, it influences where you get the actual sub job from and what items you need in order to complete it. A sub job is a job of your choice that you pair up with whatever you are actually leveling. So right now I'm leveling black mage rather, and I have chosen my sub job to be black mage, to be white mage. Sorry, I've been playing white mage for a long time. So whatever your support job is, whatever the level is that you raised it up to while playing as that being your main job, is going to be half of whatever your current main job level is. So for example, I am level 6 black mage. That means halved, I am also a level 3 white mage. The reason that matters, or why we care about that at all, is because I get access to whatever attribute increases would come from me being a level 3 white mage, and I'll have access to spells that are up to whatever the level of my sub job is. So I'll have access to white mage spells all the way up to level 3. And currently that is like Dia and Cure. Level 18 is what you need in order to start the quest, but you need specific items. As a mercy, the sub-job items can generally be found in the general hemisphere of where the quest giver is. They have to all be dropped off of certain monsters, and there's a total of 3 of them. I have no familiarity borderline no familiarity at all with the sub job quest or Mahara. Just like anything else in this game, you will be breathing and living wikis for the entirety of your playtime with it. You are going to want to grab a crab apron from crabs, as you can so imagine, in Valkyrum Dunes. You're going to need to grab a damselfly worm from damselflies, as you can imagine, in Valkyrum Dunes. Both of which are typical types of targets that parties are going to be going after anyway. So it's very, very likely that just by grouping up with other people, you're going to naturally accrue a crab apron and a damselfly worm. That you just, it's very I would be surprised if you don't get it by the time that you're 18. Absent some, like, you know, fluctuations in level syncing and so on and so forth. Or like depending on what like general level your party is aiming for. The difficult one is going to be getting something called a magic skull. Magic skulls only drop off a specific undead type called ghouls. And while ghouls are naturally occurring around Valkyrum Dunes at night, because, you know, they're undead, so they only come out at night, which, if I remember correctly, is like anywhere between like 20, like the time being 20 and like 6 o'clock in the morning in game time. They are very dangerous. All the moves that they do are annoying. Outside of like a increased blunt damage, they're pretty resistant to most damage types. And before I continue, we're gonna get ads in like 30 seconds. They run for about 90 seconds on average. Just bear with me, get up, walk around, get a drink, go to the bathroom and so on. And I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye, bye bye. I do like this song a lot. Did I not land the poison? That sucks. You want to try to be getting as many DOTs as you can, damage over time spells. Because it does make a difference, especially at lower levels. Still got a lot of schmovement on the experience ring. Glad for that. I hope you guys are getting good ads. I mean, I wonder how it decides like what type of things that you guys would be interested in. I know that we're being actively harvested literally all the time for our precious data and like search histories and whatnot. But like, I don't know, man. Like when you buy stuff on Amazon, does it like, do the Amazon servers speak to the Twitch servers and are like, this dude would probably like commercials for like anime figurines? Is that a thing? I'm sure it's a thing. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a thing, to be honest with you. Or maybe I'm just crazy. Allegedly 1 minute left in the ad. I am gonna be sorry to see this egg run out. We're definitely on time to get level 10 for sure. I don't think we're gonna have enough mileage to get level 10 and get a party in like I was believing. 30-second allegedly. On the, remaining on the ads. Ads over in 3 seconds. Okay, we should be back now. So continuing from the conversation before, how do you get a magic skull? Because the ghouls are very dangerous. Their special moves are typically very unforgiving. Sometimes they use a particular type of move called Blood Saber, which drains the health from everyone around them into themselves as damage, and then heals them for the proportional amount. Which, if you have anything more than like 2 melees, which you probably are going to, is completely ass to experience and deal with, because you're basically like fighting for your life as soon as the fight starts anyway. So when when the monster is like actively hurting you and helping itself by a huge amount, that's just a recipe for a bad time, you know.
So here's this giant enemy crab.
So you have 2 choices. Either you need to be paired with a party that is probably around level 15, I would say. Like the average level of the party is 15, and you have a full party of 6. That will allow you to deal with stuff up to level 22, which I believe is their like the maximum amount of strong that they can be in the Valkyrie Dunes, at least. And you need to have a party that is likewise confident that they can deal with it. Ghouls are not invincible for sure. It's just you're kind of like getting lucky with every time that you kind of try to deal with one. I've only experienced one time where a ghoul kept using that Blood Saber move over and over again, and that was a nightmare. I actually had to get very frisky with this character, almost killing her in the process, in order to deal with the ghoul. But there is a small chance, which gets better if you have a thief in your party that is at least level 15, to get the magic skull. If you can't get it through a party, it is highly recommended that you do something like shout in the Valkyrie Dunes for someone to help you get one, or chill out in town and send out a yell saying, "Can a kind soul have mercy on me, please, I beg of you, and help me go kill a ghoul to get the magic skull." Your other choice other than the Valkyrie Dunes is going to be going to a place that is exceptionally spooky but also ghoul rich, called Guzgan Mines, which is on the east end of the Kronstadt Highlands, which is north of Bastock, north of South Gustavberg on the extreme west side, north of North Gustavberg, and then you're in Kronstadt, and then it's all the way east from there. There is about a bajillion ghouls in the Guzgan Mines, to the point that if you go that route, you're going to want to have high level help of some kind. High level help consisting of a player that's at least level 30 or above. Bonus points if they're a paladin, because their whole shtick is dealing with undead shit. Because they have access to high club skill, and they're probably going to be leveling club anyway, and clubs do blunt damage, which does increase damage to skeletons. This thing feels like it's going to be dangerous, so I need to treat it seriously. It has both DOTs on it, so I should be okay there. Once you do get the magic skull through any means that you can, the crab apron and the damselfly worm, you're going to take it to this elderly elven person at the northwest corner, if I'm remembering the map correctly, of Selvina, turn them all in, and then bam, you've unlocked your sub job, which means that you can then go over to the Moogle that is on the opposite side of town and put on a sub job right away. It's not a huge difference when your only other sub job is level 1. Oh yeah, let's go, baby.
Monster kill.
Level 7. Should be able to, yeah, bind is right there. All my homies love bind. I don't think I have elemental suit yet. I do not. So, generally speaking, you're gonna want to get white mage up first for the reasons that I described, but also because it means that you are in a slightly better position to deal with skeletons, in the sense that you get access to a spell called Banish. And what Banish does is that it has a very unique interaction with undead creatures specifically, and like ghosts and skeletons, and that it purportedly reduces the special resistances that those monsters get. I don't know if that means that you will then suddenly be doing even amounts of damage regardless of what weapon type you're going to be using with it. All I know is that it's supposed to help in some considerable way if you banish like right from the onset. Perhaps there's someone in chat that can clarify what the actual numerical differences are. I just know that it helps. You're also capable of healing the party that is most likely going to be helping you, which is also a huge psychological benefit to the people that are giving their time up. So once you're in sub-job land, you're in a good place. You'll then want to swap over to whatever you want to level as your sub-job in order to get it up to par. That, and by par, I mean you're going to want to get it up to certain sweet spot levels. If you do plan, depending on what your long-term leveling plan is, like, do you envision your character being a healer long-term? Do you envision them being like a ranged damage dealer, or like a tank or whatever long-term? There are certain meta choices. I don't like using that word, but that's literally the correct word for it. Some expected, anticipated, recommended choices to pick depending on what type of overall job you're going to be trying to get as high as you can, or even think that you can, because like it's a sandbox. So you are fit to stop and start any job that you want at any time for any reason. There's nobody that is going to hold up a wand to your head and say you have to level this all the way through. It's not like that. But there are certain sweet spots that you're going to want to hit on certain jobs to make your life easier long term. And what are those? So Black Mage being 18, White Mage being 18 is exactly half the level of the maximum amount of sub job mileage. Let me just explain it in the most confusing way possible. What level is this? I should have checked. I'm gonna slam back up pineapple juice. I feel like I'm gonna need it. So I'll break it down like this. The maximum level of job that you can have in the game when you are at your most, like, you can't get any more statistical increases just by leveling. Like you are effective, like this is it. Like you are at your maximum level cap. That is 75. Because your sub job can only be half as strong as whatever your level cap is, that means that you can have, I'm just gonna rest. My instinct tells me to rest, so I'm gonna do that. You can have at 75, a job that is 37, because that's just how the fractionalization works, as your sub job. Half of 37, because of the way that the fractioning happens, is 18. So if you have a level 37 job and you want to have a sub job support it in a way that makes sense, you would want to raise it to 18. There are certain job combinations that work traditionally very well or give you some kind of flexibility that they are worth focusing on, but there's technically nothing stopping you outside of making some people look a little bit funny at you from doing any job combination with any job combination. This game has been played to death over eons, right? So people have certain and expectations of job combinations that people are going to have. Honestly, because of different Horizon specific changes that have been made, there could be some as yet undiscovered job combinations that work very well because of changes that have been made in how jobs perform compared to the retail version. To give you a specific example, Thief has access to triple attack, I believe, at level 37, which means that I think it's actually earlier than that. Isn't it 15 or 18 or something? I can't remember, but they get access to it when they just didn't have it before. So you could, in theory, in reality, equip it as a sub job for a job that wouldn't traditionally go out of its way to have it. Like, for example, like Dark Knight, in order to take advantage of that triple attack being a thing. Because if you're hitting a thing 3 times in rapid succession, that's going to do a really stupid amount of damage. Like, that is worth considering, or like basing your head cannon around. Another non-traditional combination would be something like the blue mage hasn't been out yet, but I've done this and there's very good reasons for it, I assure you. Blue mage / paladin, in the sense that paladin gets access at the 37 split to sentinel and flash, and not just provoke. Like, it gives you access to a bunch of very unique tools that allow you to have a more oh shit options available to you than the traditional tanking sub job would be, which would be warrior. So going back to what would be like a normal combination, you would want to ideally have, for any type of tanking job, ninja and paladin being like the 2 main archetypes other than warriors themselves, you would want to sub in warrior for those jobs, because warrior gives you access at level 3 or 5, I can't remember, I think it's 3. It gives you access to a job ability named Provoke, which is not a guaranteed. I haven't seen Chain 6 in a long time. Getting it tonight. You go, girl. Which is not a guaranteed, like, hey, pay attention to me button, but it's as close as you're going to get in most respects, outside of having access to some paladin specific abilities, or being able to cure, and like curing on purpose in order to draw hate to yourself. Other combinations would be as, like, if you're playing a tank as a warrior instead, you would want to have a job that gives you boost to your survivability in some way, or until you get access to ninja and you're like high enough level, so around like 24 or something, to get access to like a shadow casting ability that lets them completely negate damage, and they also can dual wield at that point. So if you do like warrior / nin for ninja, you are in a good spot to hit generally harder more often and to completely avoid damage. But until you get to that point, or if you don't have access to the ninja sub job because you need to do a whole quest in order to get access to it, involving going to a place and killing certain monsters in order to achieve that job being unlocked, you're going to want something in between, and that would be monk. Monk is a great damage dealer just at face value. I'm going to eat one of my expensive pies. It's not really expensive. It's expensive-ish. Expensive-ish for me. But it also gives me a ton of intelligence, which boosts my damage, and a good boost to my MP, which makes me cast more spells. And when I'm resting I'm getting more MP back in general for each time it gives me like an injection of MP. So Monk is very good in the sense that it gives you a very, very high HP increase. So you are getting all of the HP increases that a normal monk would enjoy up to half of your level as a warrior, which means that you are not invincible, but you are certainly more durable than you were prior, which is great. Everyone loves that. So yeah, so basically just, there are certain archetypes that work best. Black Mage benefits from having a White Mage sub-job because it allows them to cast things like Dia, which is a very good damage over time spell that also lowers the enemy's defense, which matters when you have like 2+ melees smacking on it for hours at a time. If you are White Mage, having a Black Mage sub-job gives you a pretty good boost to MP and allows you to have access to some types of Black Mage relative debuffs like poison, but mostly you just equip it for the MP. Later on, if you put in the work, you can cheer Bellacore. You can. Thank you. That's very kind of them. You can access Summoner, which is, as the name implies, all about summoning iconic creatures from the Final Fantasy XI universe. Like after you complete certain trials, that is, like certain mini boss battles, to acquire like Shiva, Ifrit, Titan, Rama, things like that. But your very first summon is going to be Carbuncle. That's the one that you automatically unlock. Some people do justifiably equip /Summoner as their sub job because Summoner gets more MP out of any job, like period, because they just get the natural attribute bonuses that like supercharge the amount of MP that's available to them, and certain job trait combinations that definitely help with that. Very unfortunately, we've run out of experience ring juice. It's not the end of the world, but I do hate that for me. Hey, NoFlo. How's it going? But regardless of what combination of jobs you pick, while there are certain general combinations that you would like, that you should, and I'm very careful in saying that you should aim for when you're starting out, you're not locked into anything. The meta is only the meta until a new meta comes out. And even though this is a almost exclusively PvE game, the meta is what, basically nets you the most experience the fastest, or allows you to survive situations that you otherwise wouldn't, which matters where you're dealing with like hyper notorious monsters or like endgame type stuff. But for your normal day-to-day, like, it's still just a video game entertainment product, like free or not. Free in the sense that if you're playing on this private server, or it, the whole adage of you don't pay my sub definitely applies here, as well as on retail. If you're doing something like White Mage / Monk, people are gonna ask questions. But sometimes, dude, that's just it, man. That's just how it goes. I mean, if you're up to making your own parties, There's nothing stopping you from like slash monking. It doesn't do anything for you as a mage, but people can't stop you. If you're willing to set up the parties and like the party is doing, you know, pretty well, everyone's working together, that's ultimately what matters. But for your own progress and knowledge, I would recommend the different types of combinations I described. As you get more experience with the game, you will learn for yourself what seems to be effective. But that doesn't mean that you should also close yourself off from recommendations that other people make. As long as those, just like real life, as long as those recommendations are made in good faith and from, you know, like a base of knowledge somehow, you can cross-reference it against what is on the various wikis to see if it seems to hold up. Like, just do your research, basically. So when soloing mage jobs early is slash beast better than a second mage job or second mage sub. Real shit, you could sub in monk because it gives you access to like a hand-to-hand trait, I believe, that if you don't have anything equipped, because like early game, the stat increases aren't going to be substantial. So that, you know, having like a club that does subpar damage but gives you like +1 intelligence, +1 mind isn't gonna break the bank if you don't have it. But if you have access to a slash monk job that lets you basically treat your hands as weapons, apparently that carries you pretty hard for a long time from like 1 to 10. You'd still want to swap in like when you're in a party environment, like slash white mage or slash black mage, depending on what the situation is. But any type of like actual combat oriented job is going to help you, especially if you've leveled it up. My only counter argument is if you're specifically playing, counter argument to myself, I guess, is if you're playing white mage, you're probably going to want to go for black mage anyway, if only because it gives you access to poison at level 3, which is basically like if you have Dia and poison rolling on an enemy at the same time, they're losing like 3 to 4% health like every 2 seconds. So it's almost like you're having a whole other party member smacking on it the entire time. They are. They're also very dangerous. Because it's just you. Like, there's no tank that's gonna come rolling in to save you. It's just you against, you know, it's just you, God, and the thing that's trying to, you know, tear your britches apart. Pull your butthole inside out. It's time to stop. Honestly, the slog for me is not so much keeping myself alive. It's entertaining myself with like second screen food of some description, like Twitch or YouTube or Netflix or whatever your, you know, choice of consumer product, like from level 7 to level 10. Normally getting something from level 1 to 10 is my is like a whole afternoon for me, like experience ring boost or not. As a habit that I've always formed has done me well, is every job that I get access to, especially early on. So like if you're brand new, I definitely recommend that you do this. Instead of going immediately into a party environment when you're level 10, which is like the general recommended minimum that you should be to start grouping up with other people, you're going to want to level every job available to you to level 10, even if you don't plan on taking it any further than level 10. Like, just do it. And the reason is because during that period of you getting level 10 on each job, you are naturally gathering resources that you're selling in between. So what sort of things I would recommend you to level on during that like level 1 to 10, you know, run every like each job that you're doing would be anything that gives you a fire crystal, anything at all. And I'm having to speak from the lens of like being purely Bastoken here. I have no frame of reference for what sort of things that you should hunt in like Saruta Baruta. Well, that's not true because there's birds and stuff there too. Hunt birds, dude. Hunt birds, vultures, anything that gives you a fire crystal. And the reason why is because fire crystals typically sell well. They sell fast, and for on average, out of all the types of fire crystals, out of the crystals that are available to you, the only types of crystals that typically sell for more often is going to be like things like dark and light crystals, which are a whole other thing and typically drop off of stuff that is either a pain in the ass to deal with, or is just in areas that are a huge pain to get to. Things like conberries or whatever the sentinel things are, like the clay golems, the clay dolls. I think they're just called dolls or pots. I'm gonna have to slam back the pineapple juice. I didn't have to eat the pineapple juice. I did not realize it was gonna final sting there. Oh man. Tell you what. You could also go for, if you're like Bastoken, your goal is going to be hunting things like, there's actually a few different things. So, and this also factors into making money early on. You're going to want to be hunting your main food groups, which is lizards, which drop fire crystals. Hornets, which drop beehive chips, which is also very good money because they're turned into beeswax by alchemists and are used in a few other things, but it's mostly just beeswax. Beeswax sells very well, so beehive chips sell very well, and beeswax goes into jack-o'-lanterns, which is considered, perhaps erroneously, kind of a hot take there, as a good de facto like Valkurm Dunes level 10 to 20 type food, or even beyond. The food topic is a whole other thing, but jack-o'-lanterns are, some people call them a new player trap. I think that's like taking it a little bit too far. They're not that. There's definitely good in them, but just based off of my own observations, stuff like attack food would be better. But avoiding going into all that, you're hunting lizards, hornets, and saplings. Saplings are what you should almost exclusively hunt as long as you get experience out of them as a thief. The reason why is as soon as you get access to steel, you're able to steal grain seeds from saplings. Grain seeds, when you combine them with light crystals in a pot of some description. So you bought a pot from an NPC in town for like 900 gil. You bought a maple table to put them on for various reasons. You have the grain seed that you have stolen reliably from saplings, and you have like a dark crystal that you bought off the auction house. Grain seeds are typically bought out frequently, to the point where you will see maybe like 100 stacks of 12 on the auction house one day, and then maybe 4 or 5 days later, after everyone's like gardening exploits have like gone full circle, there will be maybe like 30 at the end of it. Sometimes there's even stretches where there's no grain seeds at all. So even if you don't ever intend to go into gardening itself, the grain seeds sell reliably and often because they turn into something that gives you more money if you make the investment into gardening, period. I guess the closest the closest thing to the types of monsters that I described for like Sandoria would be maybe the fungus creatures, I guess, question mark. I think that they drop dark crystals, which, you know, for reasons already explained, is a very good. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's actually a really good point, No Flow. That you can get dark crystals from hounds too. Oh yeah, boy, we got level 8. Let's go.
Oh my god, inhuman reactions!
Depending on how I'm feeling, and at this rate, we might be able to get a party, but I'm still going to be of the presence of mind that we might not get it, because as we're getting higher in level, stuff is giving us progressively less experience. The funguar creatures in or near Sandoria give you different types of mushrooms. I believe, don't quote me on that, definitely look up the wiki, do your own research before committing to this idea that I'm going to henceforth hunt funguars exclusively near Sandoria. But some types of mushrooms that are dropped sell for much more than others, but on average they sell pretty well and pretty often, because typically they're used in different types of foods that are considered very good. And anytime anybody has any impression that something is going to sell well in this game, regardless of whether or not it's actually good, people will buy the ever-living shit out of it, because it's like the prevailing feeling is better the devil that I know than the one that I don't, or however that adage goes. So going back to the new person kind of general explanation that I kind of like caught myself going into. Let's say that you are feeling pretty confident, you're level 10, you're wanting to go into your first party environment. Where should you go and what should you do? Some people would recommend, justifiably, that you try to, especially if you're just starting out and you're like a brand new player, to hunt things until you're level 11 instead of going into a party environment at level 10. The reason why is that the actual jump from level 10 to level 11 in terms of like power level, I'm talking about like Dragon Ball Z type power level, is pretty big. You get a big power spike as a white mage, and that you get access to Cure 2. As a new player, Cure 2 is almost certainly going to kill you at least a few times, but it's also roughly 3 times as strong when you're capped out in your mind and everything like that, but that's not going to happen for a bit. It's roughly 2.5 times stronger than Cure 1 at a minimum. It's going to be your bread and butter in keeping yourself and other people alive. But it's also good in terms of like your survivability, in that you'll probably have at least 10 or 15 more health, which is basically like a whole half of a hit to a hit being taken while you're still learning the ropes. It just makes you more adaptive overall. So you're level 10 or you're level 11 and you've been selling stuff. You've been following my general advice, which is to level everything up to level 10 and then selling things in between, so you have a very small amount of pocket money available to you. What are you supposed to do after that? First, if you're a mage, make sure that you are referencing what spells are available to you in your nation of choice against what is on the auction house. Don't automatically go to the auction house and assume that people have your best interests just because it is a lower level spell. If people can make money off of you with the auction house, they're going to do it. The only time that spells are going to be very cheap or even cheaper compared to non-player characters' shop prices is if the type of spell that is that you're looking at is just drops like crazy from like multiple monsters. I'm not gonna grab that. That person already has it. So I guess something like I think Dia is one, Poison is another one, Bio is another one. Although there's many arguments to be made that you probably shouldn't use bio period, even though it's the only type of like dark magic that you can spam in order to build up dark magic skill, because of a weird interaction that Final Fantasy XI has, in that you can't have the applied effect of bio and dia working at the same time and so on. Basically check NPC shop prices and then compare them against what is available on the auction house, and then buy the cheaper of the two and get yourself probably like 1 or 2 spells higher worth, to explain it confusingly, than where you are now. So for example, there's a fire spell which I think that you get at level 13, don't quote me on that, I think that's the case, and you're level 10 or 11. Buy the fire spell if you can afford it, because you're going to be using it a lot anyway, just so that when you do get to that level in future, it's already going to be in your inventory waiting to be applied to yourself and used. If you're a melee job, you don't have to worry about that, like, period. You just don't have to even think about it. You are your own spell. Like, you look at your left and right, you know, guns, like your biceps, those are your spells. Those are all that you need. So you go to, depending on your nation, if it's Sandoria or Bastock, the typically accepted historical traditional place to go is going to be Valkyrie Dunes. If you are Windurston, I don't know the right nomenclature, you're going to be going to a place called the Bumurumu Peninsula. There are these things called camps. Camps are a place that your group agrees to assemble at that is ideally close enough to a cluster of monsters generally that the person that is going to be dragging a monster back to your party doesn't have to go very far to collect a monster, but not so close to them that if they have mechanics where they will like reinforce each other and come to each other's help, that they don't just blink like crazy, which is what that's called, thereby probably killing or at least severely inconveniencing your entire party. There are certain types of monsters that have general level ranges that are higher than others. So you will be probably progressing all over the zone to different camps, so to speak, in order to hunt certain types of monsters in order to get yourself up there. Valkyrie Dunes typically runs you from level 10 to 20. I don't know offhand, but have reason to believe that it is the same case for the Bumurumu Peninsula. You can always use this option in the game that is available to you or anyone called level syncing, where you can forcibly drag the level of everyone that is in the party down to a given level. You can't increase a level temporarily in order to meet a certain level. So you can't be like level 13 and then say that your party wants to fight stuff that ideally would be handled by a level 16 party. You can't temporarily raise yourself to level 16 in order to compete. It's always top down. Different money-making options while you're learning the ropes, for sure. Gardening, fishing. Sometimes you can hunt certain monsters for the materials that they drop. Some types of materials are prohibitively annoying to get, and so people pay what is essentially I don't want to have to deal with me going out here and getting this myself fee. I can't really think of a good example of what that would be, except maybe like land crab meat, which drops semi-rarely and is used in certain recipes, and is generally pretty expensive. That's when you're starting out. Beehive chips would be another good one, and then they drop sparingly from certain monster families. but they're needed all the time, but they're kind of annoying to get because of their semi-low drop rate, which is where it could matter if you were to opt to be a thief, either for a short time or otherwise, where at certain levels, 20, I believe it's 15 for a job trait called Treasure Hunter, which increases the chances of you getting drops in general more, but also getting more rare drops more often, and then increasing that further once you get to 45, I think it is, where like the trait basically adds on to itself. The fourth option, other than gathering, gardening, hunting, is going to be crafting. Crafting is while it can get you money long term, as a new player, I recommend against crafting, to be honest with you. You're going to want to have, in my very personal opinion, because you do you know, the world's your oyster and you're the pearl, I would recommend against attempting crafting until you have enough general experience with the game to know what types of things players generally go for, and with the understanding that most money that is gained out of crafting is when you make high quality products. So you need to be certain level thresholds above, like in terms of crafting, not actual like job levels. In terms of crafting levels, you need to hit certain milestones above whatever the target level of your craft is, or whatever you're trying to high quality, in order to have a percentage chance of getting the high quality item. So for example, right now, all my homies do be loving this type of item that lets you summon a sheep if you are a Beastmaster at will, as long as you hit a certain level, or as long as you are of a certain level. This type of item is level 7 crafting wise. The sweet spot is to just be able to craft it reliably at all and get skill up rates and basically level up the craft. The sweet spot is never aiming for more than 5 levels higher or 5 levels away from wherever you currently are. So that type of item that I was describing is level 7 in order to be able to make it at all. You need to be at least within 8 levels, I would say. After that, it's like prohibitively difficult in order to try to make the thing, period. Much less, you know, get skill gains off of it. This thing is a dick. If you are, I would say, like 10 levels away from whatever the thing you're trying to make is, like in terms of crafting, you're going to be breaking you're going to be breaking and losing ingredients probably at least 80% of the time, or 90% of the time. You can think of each level that you're getting closer towards whatever the target level is as like a 5 to 10% increased chance of you actually making the thing to begin with. The sweet spot, which I've been alluding to in this really long form approach to the answer, sweet spot you want to be at when you're crafting something is within 5 levels of the thing itself. So the jug item that I've been describing that lets you summon the pet is level 7. You're going to want to craft things that are slightly easier up until you're about level 2, and then you can swap over to the craft that you're intending to have worked on all this time. The reason why is because if you're within 5 levels of whatever your goal craft is, even if you break your item, like even if you fail, there's a chance that you're going to get a skill up off of that regardless. Like even if you lose ingredients, even if you fail to make the thing, if you're within 5 levels, the game will still give you a chance to skill up off of it. The closer that you get to the actual level of the thing, the more of a chance you have at crafting it at all. And then at every 10 crafts, you have to either buy or bring a certain item to the craftsperson NPC to turn in, and then that lets you get another additional 10 levels and so on. But crafting is prohibitively expensive to start, so I would not recommend doing it unless you are at least have like 100,000 gil, which to a new player sounds like a psychotic amount, and it kind of is. But for most crafts outside of cooking, that is what you're looking at. Cooking is extremely nice in the sense that as long as you have access to certain vendors, which is dependent on your nation controlling certain areas in the world through like the conquest system, you can buy most stuff from NPCs. And anytime that you can buy something freely from NPCs versus from the auction house, not always, but very often it's going to just be cheaper. You're not gonna feel the pain as much. The cooking craft only gets like truly expensive to level up once you're like into the end game half of it, and that you're like over level 90. Then you have to start buying stuff to skill up on that is really, really expensive, because it's only available to people that do the Chocobo digging gathering type. Something I found is it's good to make a character in each nation just so you have access to most of the vendors. Absolutely, 100%. 1,000,000,000%. That's actually, that recommendation is what I followed myself when I was on Eden, which is the other private server that arguably is no longer the unofficial official server. Horizon 11 has superseded that spot super hard. But while I was on Eden, I did have a mule, so to speak, in every nation, just to make grabbing items easier from vendors. Here, I haven't afforded myself that same luxury, just because my whole shtick as part of my channel is to go halvesies in on like this psychotic hardcore ironman like thing that I'm doing. Otherwise, I would do that again for sure. And cooking can definitely be profitable, but and it can be profitable more often, more quickly. Like for example, if you're willing to get it up to about 60, if you're 51 levels above whatever the target craft is, you're getting a 50% chance to high quality on each item. There's a not small number of recipes or items that are out there that can be made very easily, cheaply, and in bulk, that will just basically print you money until until other people figure it out, other crafters, or like you basically oversaturate the market, whatever happens first. A few examples of those is actually like Beastmaster type items. I don't know why that is, but food crafters typically sleep on the Beastmaster jug pets, and when they shouldn't. They absolutely shouldn't. And the reason why it's food based is because I guess it's like soup or some shit that you're like using to lure out already friendly monsters. I'm not really sure like what the lore is, and you can fill in the blanks there yourself. But that's the idea. So specific examples would be probably at the earliest carrot broth, which I believe is a level 3 cooking recipe. And to make said broth, you just need Sandorian carrots and water crystals. 4 carrots and a water crystal. 4 carrots you can buy anytime, regardless of anybody's control over anything, from a grocery store in Sandoria. For probably like 25 on average, depending on what your fame level is from doing questing. So you're spending about, with the crystals, maybe about like 150 in order to make the jug item at all. If you are level 54, which would put you 51 levels at least above the crafting level, which is 3, you have a 50% chance to turn it into a high quality version of the jug item. And in addition to that, you have a chance to roll higher and make not just 2 jugs of the high quality version, but 4 or 6. So it's theoretically possible for you to get a whole stack. Unlikely, but it is possible to get a whole stack of high quality carrot broth for Beastmasters just from doing 2 runs of like 300 gil. Last that I saw, said carrot broth that is a high quality version was selling for anywhere between 3,000. My guy,
No.
3,000 to 4,000 per stack. So if you are like level 54 cooking and you want to make like extremely easy money and are willing to compete with all the other people that have the same idea and are just willing to update your auction house listings at least once a day or maybe even twice a day, like once in the morning and then again before bed, you can make so much money for relatively little investment in order to get you there. For other crafts, I can't really say that you're not going to lose money until you get to like lose comparatively way more money to get to that same point. Cooking is what I'm by far the most experienced in. It's not my first rodeo to it about like 3 times to date. The one craft that I would recommend you not go into to make money, unless you are like you are ready for the grind of all time, would be goldsmithing. Goldsmithing will tear your proverbial butthole apart and then piece it back together and then tear your butthole apart yet again. And it is so punishing to get to a point where you start making money. When you get to the point where you can start making like the +2 rings reliably, like the high quality versions, which admittedly I don't know what level that is, but it can't be absurdly high. It's probably like level 60 or something, maybe level 70. Even getting to that point costs you millions. So if you're looking for like something just simple and relatively straightforward to get into that will probably make your money if you're careful with like monitoring prices and like the flow of the market and stuff, it would be cooking. The craft to avoid by far would be goldsmithing. It's so crazy. I mean, once you're up there, you make effectively like infinite money, right? But it's just it's just getting there, dude. You could also make the argument that if you are willing to gather your own materials, that it's going to make the path easier. And while I've gone that route myself, you need to have like an almost saintly amount of patience. And while I can get myself to that level just through my own, self-application of the philosophy that I practice, I still would probably avoid it if I reasonably could. And I have to date, so I will continue to. I make enough money off of a combination of cooking and watching the auction house and seeing how it behaves and like what sort of stuff to make and when. I haven't needed to really punish myself that way. So we are set to get ads in a few minutes. I'm going to head them off at the pass and run them now, just so that, you know, while we're resting and bullshitting and stuff like that, they don't get in the way of anything crazy and high octane, like me possibly getting level 9. Woo. So I'm going to press the run ad button. I will see you in 90 seconds on average. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. With enough time, a monkey will write Shakespeare. So it's like you can, with enough grind, you can accomplish anything in the game. I guess that, you know, is like a, you know, duh forehead type of thing to say, but it's especially true here. Just like the sub-job combinations, you're not prohibited from attempting to do goldsmithing right off. It's just so insane. Hello, Ruffles. Balls.
Slow down, I'm gonna spurt. Sorry.
I'll press the over button for you. Hang on.
Ja pierdolę, jakie bydle!
There you go.
Bobber!
Does that please you, my son? What about this one? I know you like this one.
Oh, fine. I guess you are my little pog champ.
Is that quotation from something that's like a little bit risque? Because you don't have a visceral reaction to it, but enough of one that... No? What about this one?
Valor, X3. What's this? A whoa?
She definitely says some PG-13 stuff after that, so I actually edited the sound file to stop it from, you know... Because I'm trying to go for like a family-friendly environment here.
Yeah.
Ew, woo.
Meow. All my homies love family-friendly environments. So if anyone has any other newbie-related questions, I pretty much run the full gamut of stuff that I would probably want to hear if I were trying to get into this game brand new. Like, there's only so much that you can be told. You just have to fucking dive in, honestly, because the game is just so punishing by its nature that you just have to learn to respect it by just interacting with it over a bit. Yep. So after I get her up to level 10, it's going to, following my own advice, it's going to be getting her up to level 17. I do not intend to take her mage-wise past 17. It's only just to get her warp. And then probably from 17 black mage to white mage 25, so that she can get sneak and invisible, which is going to make me, as cheaply as I can, get a lot of progression in that I'd otherwise need to buy a lot of expensive medicine for. Prism powders and silent oils and so on and so forth, because they don't have the Santa shit on this character that gives you like freebie versions of those things. The +1 hands and the shoes. But because she is Mithra, that gives her very high dexterity. And it so happens that her animation, or Mithra animation in general, more like, with a great katana is just fucking cool. So if she actually lives to the point that I can get her white mage 25, black mage 17, I'm going to level monk to get that up to 18, then warrior up to 37, and if she manages to survive actually tanking up to 37, then I'm going to probably either blackmail or trick someone into, or just ask for help. I'll probably just ask for help and be given it, get access to the samurai job, and then basically ride the samurai job until either this character dies or until I hit 75. And then if we ever get there, then we'll fucking figure that out together. We'll spend a whole stream trying to figure out how to invest in her one life from there. If you only had a few hours a week, 5 to 10 hours, what would you spend on in this game? So if we broke that down per day, that would be about 2 to 3 hours, which is what I would say is probably my average now in Final Fantasy XI, absent of any other activities. I honestly would be spending it on leveling something up to 75. It doesn't matter what it is, but whatever interests you, just focus on getting probably a couple levels every other day. I would recommend, if you have that kind of time, I'd recommend getting a chariot ring for the experience boost, because the chariot ring is what's going to give you the most experience mileage overall over time. And coincidentally, if you only have a few times that you can party throughout the week, that the ring is tailor-made for that, because you can only use it 3 times before you have to recharge it. You getting a job up to 75 of some description, you are going to be so generally strong that there's not a lot that's in the game that isn't so party focused that you can't help yourself on. Like there's some like missions and stuff like that that are level synced to certain like level brackets. But if, for example, you wanted to hunt an NM, let's just use the Valkyrie Emperor as an example, you're not going to have to worry about dying against like a level 30 NM if you're level 75. You just go over there and you push his shit in. If you want to farm something for money or materials for like crafting or whatever, as a level 75, you're almost certainly going to be able to kill whatever it is you're looking at. If that 75 job happens to be something like a red mage, you can solo probably way more than you have any license to in the whole game in order to accomplish whatever your personal objectives are. So on my main character, my current goal, not this one, my actual like main non-hardcore character, is going to be getting them up to level 50. Level 50 is when you have to do the limit break quest or series of quests, where every 5th level after 50 you need to do a mini quest in order to get the next set of 5 levels unlocked. And then at the when you're level 70, you have to farm something that you then go to a elderly monk gentleman in Juno and Rulud Gardens. You give him the item, and then he's like, "You and me, we're gonna throw down one-on-one." And then when you beat him, you're going to then unlock the ability to get 75 from there on any job. So level 50 for me on Ninja. I'm gonna push it to unlock up to level 60, get level 60 on the character, which is the 3 levels above what I need. So I need to be 57 in order to equip a katana called Hocho, which gives you, for reasons, +3 cooking skill. And that's a huge benefit. That's like having advanced synthesis on all the time for free. After that, I'm not going to raise Ninja any higher than 60. I'm probably, when I hit 60, going to level Paladin from level 10 to 75, which is also what I happen to do on Eden. And then I will basically just do whatever after that point. I don't really have any set plans after getting Paladin to 75, except to wait for Treasures of Atargon to come out so that I can play with my actual main, which would be Blue Mage, and then I fucking ride Blue Mage into the ground. I get all the spells that I can for it. I complete all of the COP, the Chains of Promethea missions, in order to get access to specific monsters that have specific spells that I would need. And then probably go fight this, I don't know if you would call it an H&M, but it probably qualifies. H&M called Genbu, to get Genbu's shield, which Blue Mages can equip for whatever reason, even if they don't have any natural shield skill, because it reduces your physical damage by, I believe, 10%. And then resume my Eden original goal of proving to myself, but also to people in general, that you can tank as a Blue Mage in like level 75 parties. Because they could definitely do it. It just hasn't been attempted, because the idea of a Blue Mage tanking is even more bizarre than perhaps the job itself is. But I've seen the Matrix, dude. I know it's possible. I've read between the lines. I've seen Beyond the Veil. I let the fear pass over me and through me.
Potion seller, enough of these games.
If you are new to the channel, or newish, and you have not done me the mercy of clicking the purple follow button on my page yet, I would implore, not beg, but beg adjacent you to do so. It not only helps people that may be interested in my content also find me, but it also gives me a little dopamine spike. Dude, Blue Mage is the shit. Like, it's not literally shit, it is the shit. I'm gonna pop a potion preemptively. I said I'm gonna pop a potion preemptively. Oh boy, okay. Oh yeah. If it had, I'd be playing a different character right now if that. If it did a special move right after that. That's kind of spicy. Oh man, I did not expect to almost not be able to use the potion there. I didn't shit my pants, you shat your pants. That's your shat pants that you're experiencing right now. Blue Mage is amazing. Some people might say that there's a little bit of copium in there. If there is, then I will huff that shit all day long. Full stop. Not a lot of people play Blue Mage. Awesome, thanks for that. Person, very nice person, protected me. Not a lot of people play Blue Mage that had access to it, because it is a very strange job, and that not only do you not know what to expect from a Blue Mage, because each Blue Mage is literally different. Every single Blue Mage is gonna be unique. Outside of like some fringe type of, no, not fringe, some type of like generally accepted to be good spells. You don't know when you invite them what they're going to come equipped with, except like Headbutt. Headbutt is going to be like an auto slot always, because having an on-demand stun every 10 seconds is like ridiculously overpowered. To the point where I think that if they haven't considered it, then they probably will nerf headbutt in some way, either like by making some monsters in the vanilla missions and activities more resistant to stun than they would otherwise be. I don't know, but if they don't change it, I'm fine with that, dude. I'm perfectly happy to mash my headbutt button ad nauseum. But like you can look at a paladin and you can tell what a paladin is going to do. You know they're going to tank, you know they're going to flash. If they're a particularly good paladin, they're going to actually make use of the cover job ability, so on and so forth. You look at a ranger, you know that they're going to do big deeps with either a gun, a bow, or what have you. You look at a thief, you know they're going to be doing thiefy things like sneak attack, trick attack, and so on. You look at a blue mage, and you have to. The blue mage basically has to tell you what it is that they can do. Otherwise, like the only thing that you really know is that they can headbutt. Like you can be certain of that. That's why even in retail, when they unlocked, when they were made freely available, you didn't really see them that often. But blue mages can do everything. If they have devoted themselves to the ancient blue mage ways, they can do anything. The only thing that they will struggle with is like main healing, so don't expect them to do that. They're just not, even if they're very experienced, they're just not going to be able to get you that far. I've tried it. It went okay, but it got spicier than perhaps it should have. Very neat. It's just not what they're supposed to do, really. But they do get access to some extremely strong types of cure spells. Like Wild Carrot is functionally a cure 3. Magic Fruit is effectively a cure 4. If you are tryharding, which I definitely recommend with a job, because it makes you feel like a god when you do it. And you have like mind swapping equipment and stuff like that, you can put out white mage healing numbers. Your only limitation, and you could say this with most jobs, but with blue mage especially, is that your MP pool is more limited than perhaps like a white mage would be. Like you maybe have like 3/4 if you go in on like MP food or something. Otherwise, damage dealing is the most obvious. Most people go the route, or have gone the route in the past, of subbing Thief, because like a lot of physical blue mage spells work with sneak attack, trick attack. Like the most obvious example being a move Death Scissors, which you get from scorpion type enemies. Other people just kind of like default to like ninja, just because you get 2 weapons, which means more attributes depending on what the weapons are, and like an attack speed reduction overall. So how do you know if blue is good or not? Do you mean like, how do I know if a blue mage is good or not, or how do I know if the job is good? Is it the most biased response would be Me doing a deeps, like the add-on deeps comparison of my numbers versus what other numbers are being output in the party, and being able to output numbers that are comparable with other like dedicated DDs. Now granted, it's with like being able to put out like a numbers that are on par with like a samurai involves you doing like 2 to 3 times the mental gymnastics in order to get that far. So if you love the job, you're not even gonna worry about that. It's just gonna be like muscle reflex to do the sort of stuff that would net you those numbers regardless. If you want to just like chill out, Blue Mage is not the job for you, for sure. A blue in your party. Blue mages have been so historically rare that the times that I have partied with them, they've done okay. They seem to be inclined to do things that are sure, and unless they are explicitly told, hey, did you know that if you burst affinity, chain affinity, this magic at this, like when we start skill chaining, you'll do crazy damage with both the physical spell that you're using, and you can magic burst with the other spell if you have access to it. Like most of the time they will just treat it as if it was just a normal DD, in which case they don't do very hot. Like when they do have like the whole sneak attack combination with like a relatively strong blue mage spell available to them, they'll do it, and they do good numbers for like that moment. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story is that, like most jobs, if you're not try-harding it, it's going to perhaps be seen as subpar, which probably would explain why there weren't very many blue mages around in general. Just because like the actual skill ceiling is just very, very, very high. Like you can smooth brain it if you so choose. You will just be having difficulty proving to people that the job is good if you go that route. If you try to do the research and then try to act on it as much as possible, you'll be doing crazy shit like all the time throughout your entire like 2-3 hour runtime with a party. If most people sleep on blue, for my own personal psychological health, I will never solo probably anything except to maybe Beastmaster, and only if it's on my final job. I respect the people for sure that solo in this game, especially if it's not on like a Beastmaster job. I just cannot get myself to do it, just because of how painfully slow it can be. Can it solo shit? Perhaps even on par with a red mage? Yeah, absolutely. If you have the medicine and like you have like Yugudo drinks and stuff like that, you can tackle stuff that is like should be way above your power level. I've actually surprised myself a few times, like in that I've accidentally over-prepared for something that I thought was going to like almost assuredly kill me, and I ended up spanking like the shit out of like certain like mission monsters and stuff like that. but I also tend to make my own parties just as a rule. So I don't really often run into situations where I just don't have a party available to me. Because I'm the one making them. The only time that I basically stop trying to search for a party for the night is if there's like literally nobody searching. In which case, I'll very rarely put my flag up. But most likely I will just stop and go play something else. Most people would look at you as if you were a psycho if you told them that you can Dale Earnhardt attain level 12. If you told them that you can tank reliably as a blue mage up into the 60s. The blue mage is such a rabbit hole, man, that most people don't know that there are spells all the way up to 75, including one that you can get at 73, that have a hate component to them. That are like hate generating spells. Like, if you are collecting all of the spells and you have access to all the areas earned through just doing the expansion stuff, you have access to even more hate generation spells than you do a paladin, which sounds psychotic because it is. It is crazy that that's like actually the truth. The game doesn't tell you that said spells have like a huge hate spike associated with them. They just do. There is a spell that is gained by fighting these things called Wamoras, which are completely insanely powerful moth type creatures that you can find in some of the treasures areas that have this ability where it functions as a very light heal, but also acts as an erase on yourself. So it gets rid of, you know, some of the more uncommon status ailments. What the game doesn't tell you is that it also has almost sentinel, like job ability, sentinel amounts of hate associated with it. And that if you are on the hate list and you use this ability, you're going to get hate on you. Like, almost regardless of what the tank is doing. You can also combine that with a job ability that you can earn through merits. So like experience, like leveling, getting merit points after level 75. And you can take a spell that would ordinarily only be a single focus spell, like used on yourself or like one other person, and you can have it apply to the entire party or whoever's in range. So if you combine that job ability with the spell that I just mentioned, you are effectively guaranteeing hate on whatever you're dealing with for like the literal entirety of the party's like runtime with it. Cocoon is like an 8 MP spell that you get, I think, at level 1 or level 3. I can't remember now. That increases your defense regardless of what it's at by 50%. Like just a 50% increase from amount to amount. So the more defense that you get later, the more of a severe increase in defense it is. Where if you have 300 defense, or not, probably 250 defense would be like more realistic, around like the 60s or 70s. You are basically, by using this spell that lasts for like 2 or 3 minutes, I think it's 3 minutes. Yeah, it's 180 seconds. That's right. It's like you're equipping like 3 more body pieces for free, for basically free at that point. And that's not even including food. If you eat defense boosting food, That also factors into it. So you're reaching every 3 minutes, because like by the time that the 3 minutes ends, the spell is available to again. It's like every 90 seconds you get it back. You just have to remember to put it back on. You're getting like paladin levels of defense like every 3 minutes. You're also getting spells that give you the same amount of hate generation that traditional cures would. If depending on what the circumstance is, and if the blue is quick enough, they definitely can pull off a benediction. I mean, benediction is like insane, but there is certain job abilities certain job abilities and spells, if we include the blue mage in that will pull monsters off of the white mage when they use it. So Sentinel, which I keep harping about, is a job ability that paladins get that reduces all physical damage, if I'm remembering correctly, by 90%. What the game also doesn't tell you is that it severely pisses off whatever monsters have you on their hate list. So if you Sentinel after benediction, then you should be able to pull it off based off of my own experience. The closest thing that blue mage would have to that would be that specific spell job ability combination that I mentioned before. That's the only way that I could see them pulling off of benediction. Otherwise, it would just be your typical paladin route of trying to spam cure spells while provoking on the white mage themselves, probably because the monster is pissed off at them specifically. And there's only so much that you can do about so many of that benedictions. I mean, which makes sense. Like, even I think it's one of those things that even if like the benediction doesn't really heal for that amount, I think it has like an innate amount of like hate generation that like you have to deal with. Like, you basically have to try to keep the white mage alive long enough for you to pull the monster off by other means. This is the way.
It's only a game. Why do you have to be mad?
This guy's probably doing it for fun, but I'm surprised that he's sticking around for like level 12 or past level 12. He might just be hunting the beehive tips, to be honest with you. God damn. 25% water, let's go.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I am completely out. I wonder, man, is it worth using another pie? Yeah, it probably is. It'll probably save me time in the long run. I'm gonna be right around on time, I think, by stream end to definitely have level 10. Yeah, we're making good progress. And then it's a matter of getting this little lady back to town alive, which is probably going to be dead easy at level 10. And then maybe check out the auction house while I'm there, although I prefer to typically handle that stuff off stream, so like most of the high octane action happens on screen. You know, breads and circuses. I got to make sure that you people are hooked on almost lethal levels of dopamine every second, because that's what that's the goal, man. I'm here to bang my cymbals. Am I right, everybody? Am I right?
Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Yes, indeed.
We're having fun. Everybody loves looking at Bastock. The great Bastocan natural wonder that is South Gustaford. You have Redeem say something stoic. I have only this to say to you, that whoever is ignorant who he is and what he was born for, and in what kind of world and with what companions, who does not know what things are good and what evil and what noble and what base, who cannot follow either discourse or demonstration, or what is true or what is false, nor is able to distinguish between them, such a one will neither exercise desire, nor aversion, nor impulse, nor design in accordance with nature, nor his ascent, nor his descent, or his withholding of judgment, but will wander up and down the earth entirely deaf and blind. Is there anything new in all this? Is not this ignorance the cause of all the errors and misfortune that have happened since the origins of mankind? Basically saying, in a super long form way, that was Epictetus, by the way, all the respect to my homeboy, basically saying that if a person has not introspected at all at any point in their lives, is going to basically be at the mercy of anything that happens to them or around them. That there is a way with philosophical practice, which is what he's gunning for there, to be in such a state that if something very inconvenient or unfortunate or even disastrous happens to you, that you're able to avoid being completely turned upside down by it. Perhaps the most easier said than done thing of all time. But as my homie Epictetus also says, a bull does not grow up to defend the herd all at once, but does so like through repeated action. Oh my god. My wife has entered the chat. Hello, wife. Probably the most difficult thing that I have ever learned in practicing Stoicism, and something that I still struggle with sometimes to date, is being able to say to myself, you are an impression and not what you appear to be, which is like a foundational way of approaching the world that is easy or easy-ish when the thing that you're dealing with doesn't have like many consequences associated with it. So for example, if somebody like cuts ahead of you in line, for better or worse, to not allow the emotion, or like not allow yourself to agree that I was just cut off in line and this is a very bad thing and I should feel bad about it and even angry, to being able to say to yourself that this person is doing only what appears best to them. I'm going to try to convince them nicely the error of their ways, but ultimately this person, you know, if they're going to learn at all, they're going to have someone role model for them, and that apparently, because of the way that things have happened, is got to be me. Or you just shrug it off. Like what has happened other than a person's physical being having to be put between you and other stuff that's around you. Like the actual condition of the world hasn't changed in any substantial way. You're not harmed by the sudden appearance of a meat bag appearing in front of you. If you look at it constructively, you can take what would ordinarily be something that would piss off people for days after and turn it into something constructive. Hello. I have sometimes, yeah. Do you dream in Stoicism? That was me responding to that. It's actually a thing in the philosophy where, because you are effectively retraining the way that you are viewing events, so you're basically like reprocessing, like you're retraining the way that you approach the world. Just like to put a pin on it. That also affects how you think, and like while you're dreaming. So it's entirely possible that when you are on this path, for you to dream, trying to respond to things constructively, even in a dreamlike state, as a Stoic would. Like you're trying to react in a philosophically consistent way, which is very bizarre. It's very bizarre to wake up and retain enough of the dream to be like, wow, I tried to handle this dream situation in like in a way that like, in like a constructive way. Like you're not like think about that. Think of all like the dream shit that happens, and then trying to imagine yourself almost autonomously trying to react to it in a rational way. That basically is what it's like. It took me a very long time before I started to actually have my real life applications of the philosophy kind of bleed into the dream like that. The first time that it happened, I was both impressed and slightly weirded out. I do look forward to it happening now, though. Most of the time recently, I just dream about like being in or fighting in giant robots, and I cannot parse what that means. I'm sure that if there's I don't know what they call them, like a dream counselor, psychologist, that would be able to explain what that's about. And then they would just, like turn to me and be like, you just like giant robots? And I'll be like, that makes sense. Another 50 of those dreams, please. Which, watching too much mecha. I actually look for mecha anime. I can't really... like the most recent anime that I watched that had a bunch of like giant robots in it would be 86, which I definitely recommend if you're not familiar with it. It's definitely not like a mood improver. It's actually a pretty serious anime. So, just brace yourself accordingly, but I would recommend it. I mean, aside from 86, I've been trying to find other good giant robot anime and haven't really succeeded. Like, I've been a huge Armored Car fan as long as I've ever like been aware of it, but which honestly started my love for it, and then maybe like bits and pieces of Gundam on Toonami when that was a thing. Person is hunting hornets. I'm sorry. I could have stopped myself, I think, but it was like a deer in the headlights sort of situation. This I know that it's illegal. Justifiably, it's illegal to not have watched Evangelion. I have not watched Evangelion. I'm aware of the memes, like Shinji getting the robot. I'm aware of the religious meta narrative. I've seen some scenes of it. I have not actually partaken myself. Just because it's one of those things where it's like there's a little bit of Breaking Bad syndrome in there, and that that it's good, so you want to be in the right headspace to like tackle it. but all that ends up doing is just like pushing it out even when you have time available to it, to the point that you just forget to watch it, and then that just keeps happening over and over again. One day I will watch it. I just need to remember to watch it. I don't know why it's telling me that I can't, that I don't meet the requirements for insect wings. Like, I have 2 spots left. I mean, I'm not like super losing out. It's not like a huge fortune if I don't get insect wings to sell, but it's weird. That really hurt. I need to actually be careful here. I need to treat this seriously. Get the debuffs down. Then if I need to, pop a potion. Hopefully I won't need to though. I should be able to just carry myself, or cure myself to victory. That was a good miss. Okay, I should be okay here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this water off. Got the water off, look at me. And then time it as it swings. Oh, and misses. Very critical. I did not respect this thing going into it, and I definitely should have. Got to be a name for that scenario where you're super interested but never get to a show or movie. Yeah, I would definitely, like, the way that I framed it to myself is like Breaking Bad syndrome, but that could also be taken, like, Breaking Bad syndrome could also be taken negatively, because I've also used it to explain people's aversion to watching something because it's so popular. I'm using it in a positive context now, but I used to frame it like that. Where, like, during the height of Breaking Bad, like, people just literally would not shut up about it. And then you, like, if you allow it to, kind of that feeling implants in your brain as like I'm choosing to be like a rebel against popular culture by not watching this thing, even though I know it's probably good. Like, just it being overhyped. Breaking Bad is definitely worth watching. Just like even almost probably on par with Evangelion. There was a Gundam series that focused on I think it's Zion is like the name of the nation that produced all the enemy mechs, like Zaku's and stuff like that. That focused on the like the enemy side, which I thought was very interesting, but I've never been able to find that anime again. Like, whatever Gundam series that was, I've never been able to find it. God damn this. Oh, he's searching for a party. That makes sense. That he would be around here hunting beehive chips. Dr. Stone was also a good one. I enjoyed that one a lot. I found that when they were doing experiments, that it seemed to actually model like real life applications in like a situation where, you know, like you had like no other resources. I thought that was interesting. Look at these deeds, dude.
A hunter must hunt.
I did go and see the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, just because we're kind of like jumping between media now, I guess. And that was exceptionally good. I was like shockingly good. I kind of got that impression when I saw on Rotten Tomatoes that it was like a 90-90 split in terms of like positive reviews, but even then I went into it with probably lower expectations than I should have. which actually probably paid off. Low expectations, low expectations, gang, rise up.
Very good.
That was definitely worth the combined $30 that I invested into 2 tickets for my lovely life, a large popcorn, large soda, and what else did I get? The Butterfinger like unwrapped mini bars and a bunch of crunch. Like way more sugar than I should have intake. But like, you're at the movies, man. That's just, you know, that's part of the course. The only thing that I wasn't a huge fan of, and was definitely an opportunity for me to practice my philosophy in real time for almost like 2.5 or 2 hours. I think it was just 2 hours as a runtime. Was that eventually my brain got used to it, but there was a lady that was near-ish me that was constantly sniffing or clearing their throat for almost the entire runtime. Eventually it became one of those things where, like, if you're in a room that has like those halogen light bulbs that make like the burr noise like the entire time that they're on, like your brain does some kind of gymnastics in order to kind of mute the sounds that you're not paying attention to anymore. Occasionally I would just like fade in and out of awareness, but it was a good movie. Yeah, it was kind of like a small town movie theater, which is pretty rare. Super nice. The whole thing was really nice. Like when we left, the person was like, "Hey, do you want me to refill your soda and popcorn for you?" Like, how often does that happen? Freaking none. We're about halfway into level 10, so we are on track. I don't know if we have anything that would really qualify as like good loot. I'm just gonna use these pineapple juice in order to kind of like accelerate the process a little bit. I've also been only equipping one of my rings this whole time. What a freaking noob, man. KO! Been missing out on a whole 1 intelligence. I've probably been doing like 1 less damage this whole time. Freaking disgusting. It doesn't really equate like 1-to-1 like that, but you know, what if it did? One job I do miss, and I might dip back into if the planets align, is Dark Knight. Dark Knight was my first ever 75 job. I'm way better at the game in general in terms of like knowledge base and well, that's just it. Like, knowledge is like 90% of the game. But I also, unlike then, I eat food now, which I highly recommend that you do regardless of what level you are. One, because there's plenty of cheap food out there that gives you like a huge power spike. That is also tailored around like what your current stats are. So for example, good low level food would probably be things like meat jerky, anything that you can like take like a fraction of your attack from and then compare it to what it says it will give. So like meat jerky will say that it will cap out at like 25 attack or whatever, but it bases the amount that it actually gives you off of a fraction of like what your current attack is. So if you have 100 attack, it's going to give you back up to 25 attack in addition, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's just so much more attack that what attack does, it gives you a much higher chance when you get to that sort of like increase to roll high and like your damage rolls against the enemy, because your attack is compared against their defense, and then the game does a bunch of hidden rolls in the background, comparing your strength against their vitality and so on until it outputs a result. And it weighs it so heavily against it that there was actually a situation where in a Dunes party, someone was eating soul sushi. If you're not familiar with what soul sushi is, it's like an end game accuracy food. End game people eat it. A huge portion of it is wasted at that level because it's also percentage based, but that person still is probably getting at least 15% accuracy out of it, along with some like a smattering of other attributes. I was eating Navarin, which is probably like a food that you can squeeze the most mileage out of when you're 30, but it's pretty comparable to attack foods below that. Like, you're not getting the most out of it that you could until you get to level 30 is basically what I'm saying. But I was actually doing about 1,000 over the course of the party. I did about 1,000 to 1,200 more damage than they did on eating endgame accuracy food. So if you eating food at any level is definitely worth it. If you have any questions about at any time, that I'm streaming or otherwise, you can reach out to me in game. If you don't know me already, I do not bite in any way, shape, or form. I will give you some like recommendations based off of like your vague description of what it is that you're trying to do, like with whatever your current job is. So for example, my nephew was going to play ninja, but he is a Tarataru, and Tarataru are extremely fragile. Like, they're basically walking glass cannons, and he wanted something that gave him health but also kind of tapped into types of attributes that ninjas would normally use. So I gave him Bream Risotto. Bream Risotto gives you like an injection of flat 40 HP, which to him is like, I can actually do the math now. Let's see, calculator. Where's my calculator? Where'd it go? Yeah, I don't know why that got unpinned. So let's just do like 220. No, that's not the way to do it. It's 40 times 220. Okay, it was basically like a 20% health increase for him. And then gave him like dexterity, which gets converted basically into damage if you're using weapon skills, and crunches down into just like an accuracy increase for him. Some agility, which they use in order to increase parrying chance and dodge and stuff like that. And then like the wiki said that it was accuracy that he was getting out of it, but I actually gave him range accuracy. But because ninjas part of their whole shtick is using shuriken, if he did try to use shuriken, it would definitely give him up to 15% or 15 extra accuracy, which is something like a 7.5 to 8% hit increase. Also, don't ever let anyone gaslight you into believing that it's not worth it to skill chain. There are certain websites, one of which I'll actually recommend to you now, called magitecharmy.com/skillchain.php. There are calculators out there that will take what you input into them, so like the job levels of the people that you're partying with, what their jobs are. It can even let you select what type of skill chains you would prefer to see, or what person you would prefer to end on, and then it'll output a result that says this person should do this, and then this person follows up with this skill chain, and it'll make this result. It's literally free damage, so getting into the habit early and often of doing skill chains is definitely worth it. I can't recommend trying to set them up yourself unless you have a calculator like that, because God help you if you're trying to figure out in real time what type of skill chains you can do based off of like a skill chain chart. It's just CBT at that point. There's some minor differences in terms of like elements associated with weapon skills on Horizon compared to other private servers, but calculators like the one that I just described are accurate about 98% of the time. So we're actually getting close to ad time in about 2 minutes. If you feel like you've gotten anything out of this stream so far, and you would like to make a sincerely huge impact on me and have access to Amazon Prime, you can spend your subscriber perk on me. It doesn't cost you anything, and it basically improves the algorithm, getting people to more easily find me, so on and so forth, other convincing things, other means of convincing you to just do the thing. But it also lets you avoid ads, which is probably the most valuable component of it. I'm gonna run ads now, so it's not disruptive when things are happening. I will see you in a moment. 90 seconds on average. Bye. Now that they're gone. Imagine not being subscribed. LMAO. Can you imagine if I really thought that way? That'd be the worst. I would want you to put me down.
Bingo!
Do be getting closer. Need to get our skill, our elemental magic up. I've been relying on club too much. I just need to kill whatever I see and take advantage of the pineapple juices. Come on, man. What the frick? Are you good back there? I would say don't make me come over there, but I'm very opposed. I'm gonna slam back another pineapple juice. So while I didn't buy one for me earlier because I wasn't expecting this character to live that long, just because, you know, life comes at you fast or death comes at you fast in Final Fantasy XI, I did purchase a Vile Elixir +1, which is the closest thing to a oh shit button to save yourself that the game has. It gives you back 55% of your max HP and MP, but it also gives you the medicated status effect, which means that some of the more potent types of medicine can no longer be applied to you. It is the definition of a last resort, but I do have it available to me if I really need to. Since I've got this character to a point where it has a sub job, it is definitely worth that investment. She's basically earn her keep and managing to stay alive through what I put her through to date. So she deserves additional tools to keep that momentum. It also means that I'm not going to go into the dunes functionally naked like I am now. And then it's all like level 1 vanilla wear gear. She's gonna have some additional tools to work with. I have spoken. It's been good though. Level 1 to 10s are not the most fascinating. However, there's literally no getting around them. There's no, thank God, there's no way to just pay your way from, there's no level boost that you can get a la World of Warcraft retail where you can buy a level 75 account or whatever the threshold is now. Like I can't even, like so much of this game relies on foreknowledge and just like learning muscle reflex and stuff over time. Like going into, like I've led people through Permivian for the first time, the Permivian areas, and it's if you're not used to it or you're relatively new to the game in general, Permivians are fucking scary. Because so much can go so wrong, and it's the first time that you really, you're often really dealing with like a 10 to 15 minute fight where you're like one of 6 vital components that if the whole machine isn't behaving properly at the right time, like it could all fall apart very fast. I definitely agree with you on that. You don't start getting a lot of your tools that really define your job until about 20. Like you only start getting used to the job around that point. Obviously, if you've never played it before. If you have, it's just riding a bike, a very strange fantasy bike, but that's also where you level 10 to 20. Most people are in the I'm gonna bond through mutual suffering state of mind by default. Level 20 is when some people let their less savory sides come out in terms of like what their expectations are. 90+% of the 95% of people that I've met partying over level 20 have been great, awesome people. But there are some that just like they just arbitrarily choose like level 20 and above to be the time when they're like they just get weird. They just let themselves get weird. Like the one guy that I invited to a Yatunga jungle party, like a level 27, and he was like, do you see what rank I am? Why are you inviting me to a jungle party? Which that's the first time that anybody's reacted to me like that ever. Like in that specific way, like saying like I'm X rank, like why did you invite me to Y place? And the conversation got even weirder from there, and I'll spare you it, but telling you, man, you'll always find spicy people like that though. There's no avoiding it, especially in an MMO. The bee and crab population is out of control here. We gotta trim them down. Other than Black Knight, well, I guess that's, yeah, it's kind of like a Black Knight. Other than Dark Knight, Black Mage was my second 75 job. Just because, you know, it was like 15 or whatever, so I liked blowing shit up. I still like it. But now I'm all about the Paladin. I've enjoyed my time with Ninja. It's just, it's so abhorrently expensive to keep going. If I were, and part of that is on me, if I were trying to treat it like most people treat the job, which is basically like a Shihai machine, like just keeping shadows up and then provoking in between and then doing nothing else. It would be not cheap, but definitely cheaper. Like you can go from level 1 to 35 or 40 on a stack of Shihai belts, which is like 12 stacks of 99, just arranged in like a convenient stack. And that's like about 40,000, which is not cheap for sure. Regardless of how much money you're generally handling at any point. But if you're also trying to use all the different tools, like each spell has its own individual tool. Not only is it hell on your inventory, but it's just so expensive. Exactly. You're literally paying money anytime you're fighting to do like basic job functions. I don't think there's anything that the ninja can do outside of weapon skills that doesn't like literally cost you something. Doubly so if you actually try to take advantage of Shuriken. Like Shuriken was arguably, obviously meant to be part of their long-term kit, and that you get shurikens at level 18 and they do a psychotic amount of damage every 3 seconds, like to the point that you could just throw ninja stars literally the entire time and be out DPSing any other DD that's with you, even if you're trying to tank, which is just silly. But like the actual, given the current Year of Our Lord economy, it takes like 17,000 gil in order to make a stack of Juji Shuriken, which is like the level 28 version. And like even more expensive from there, because like you need to either be a smith yourself or have a smith friend that is willing to buy stuff at cost for you, and even, or like synth at cost for you. But even if you find someone like that, it's just so nuts. Like I'm gonna keep tryharding it. Like don't get me wrong, because I for the time that I'm gonna be playing it, I want to see what it quote unquote is meant to play like. Like using all available tools, using Shuriken whenever you can, keeping throwing skill capped, which probably is never going to be usable in any other job, really. But doing it just because, you know, I'm like a ninja, so that's what ninjas do. They level up their throwing skill. We're extremely close to level 10. Once we hit level 10, I'm not going to push it to 11. I'm going to head back to town, sell off a lot of the junk items that I have, probably to the NPC, because I don't think I got a stack of anything. And just for speed, that's easiest on me. maybe check out some spells that I could grab for next time, just out of curiosity, and because I'm already there. But yeah, we did it. We did the thing. We survived to level 10. Go us.
Oh my god!
I let myself get way too close with the crab critting me down to 7 HP. It literally could have ended right there.
Incredibilis!
What is the best way to skill up severely underskilled like throwing? There's two different schools of thought that I can give you. One is going to be infinitely more tolerable than the other, but is its own type of painful. So if you're trying to level up a skill, your best bet is to one of three options, actually. The first one is to try to practice on easier monsters, stuff that you can semi-easily kill. This crab is hitting me really hard, which is what I did on Paladin in order to get my greatsword up in anticipation of Dark Knight. I would level my greatsword skill off of elementals in Quilpham Island as high as I could, and then basically try to go from there. And then when my Dark Knight took over, I would then be in a place where by the time I could start skilling up again, I was already at cap. The second thing that most people would do, I think, is find a skill up party where the objective is not to experience, it's just baked into the name. Your whole goal is going to a place and killing monsters just to skill up. I don't think that there's any hard or fast rule over what you're supposed to bring. The whole objective is just swing until you hit. It's just swing until you hit and then skill up, and that's the thing. And then you have your typical, I guess it's like a typical party composition to keep everyone alive as that's going on. I've never been part of a skill up party, admittedly. I just know that they exist and people regularly use them. Otherwise, if you ever want to use a given skill, just make a habit of almost letting myself die and realizing it now as I'm talking. Why is this one so hard? It's level 6. It was almost a really feel bad moment there. Let me treat this Hornet seriously and stop over focusing on whatever I was talking about. That would have been really dumb to die just then. But what I was saying is that your best bet is trying to skill up on whatever your end goal skill is, very eloquently put, on a job that makes sense, that can take advantage of it.
Oh my god, we did it! The One Piece is real!
Woo!
Yay! Yay!
Oh my god!
Sloppy!
5 points!
Oh, baby, a triple! Oh, yeah!
Level 10, baby. Let's go. Alright, and now I just have to get her back to town. I think I have I do not have a instant warp. That's okay, I don't need one. You're gonna want to be leveling on a job, if you can so help it and are so willing to do it, that has is particularly adept at whatever it is. So for example, if you want to raise crossbowing or whatever, marksmanship, for in anticipation of ranger, you would try to find the job that is the next most proficient in that thing in order to skill up as you go along. So I think the next closest in marksmanship skill to a ranger would be thief. You'd use you would just try to keep your crossbow levels up as you go along with beef. If you're trying to level like Scythe or Dark Knight, you could roll with Scythe for a while on your Beastmaster. Things like that. Like basically giving yourself a starting pool of skill ups to work with, and then doing your best thereafter to use the skills when it makes sense. Trying to keep your level consistent to whatever area you're partying in. Like basically try to skill up as you naturally level if you can at all help it. It's easier when you are the party leader because then you're the one that's deciding what level you're trying to base your party around. But basically with Ninja, the entire time that I've been doing Ninja, I've been using this chakram that gives me range accuracy boost. And I've been using it whenever I can until I get up to the cap. And then I swap from that to the shuriken that actually does like ridiculous amounts of DPS. In each of these examples that I'm giving you, you're also ideally going to want to be eating range accuracy boosting food of some kind. There's so many different types that it would honestly depend on what your budget is, but there's some relatively cheap range accuracy type foods that you can roll with for a while, including some that last for 3 hours. An example that's immediately coming to mind, but probably isn't very cost effective, especially if you're just in a state where you're just trying to earn enough fuel to survive, would be whitefish stew. Whitefish stew gives you like a smattering of like generally good attributes like dexterity, but it namely increases your accuracy by a little bit, but gives you a pretty big boost in your range accuracy otherwise. She lives to see the dunes. May Altana have mercy on her soul. Bone. Okay. We did it. We did the thing. I'll sell the wind crystals. I am gonna dip into this shop right here. And I'm going to sell my garbage. She lived long enough to get her sub job, so in theory, she'll be fine a second round. I am honestly concerned most about her going war because I am eventually turning her into Sam. Yeah, she almost died twice trying to get the skull. So as a new character, highly, or even not as a new character, as if you're just in the state where you're trying to make enough bank to like keep yourself afloat, buy cheap food and so on, save literally all that you can. Save all what you would consider to be like trash until you get a stack of it. And then when you get a stack of it, you sell it on the auction house. You just fill your Mog House with the refuse that you get just from doing normal Final Fantasy 11 things until you see it become a stack, and then you sell. That will also help, because sometimes you'll be surprised by how many items jump in price, because most people just vendor them like I just did, and then it results in a situation where there's no more insect wings on the auction house because everyone's throwing them away or selling them back to the NPC, and then you can benefit from that like temporary shortage. All right, let's just take a glance Thanks. It's ending soon, but it'd make a huge impact on me if you followed it hasn't already. People love watching things that other people seem to be watching. Metric, thank you so much for the follow. Let's go.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Thank you, Big. I appreciate it. It helps feed the algorithm. Scrolls, black magic, arrow / find arrow. See if I have that already. I don't. I need to grab that. 7. Bio I'm not gonna get, which, you know, I just don't expect to ever be in a position to get any kind of mileage out of my dark magic skill. Perhaps if I was gonna go hard into Black Mage or Dark Knight, I would try to keep it level consistent. I'm just not gonna worry about it. Not on this character. I'll be lucky if she survives long enough to care about getting anything like that up to par. Fire also. I mean, it's gonna. She should be able to get. Yeah, she should be able to get the fire and the dunes. Right. I'm gonna hold off on. Maybe I get blaze spikes. How much is it? 10,000. Go fuck yourself. Yo. What? I think it's a quest spell. Maybe it's like it's like that, dude. But nah. That's a big old no for me. Now let me make sure that I have these set up correctly. I do. I don't have blind though. Blind. Ma. Blind. I'm gonna set this to BT, and I'm actually gonna switch all these away from target to battle target, because I want to be in a frame of mind that if I'm not actively casting spells in a party situation, I'm resting. I'm gonna move these over a little bit so I don't confuse them. And then I'm also going to check to see what kind of medicines are available. I gotta support our local businesses. 102 type potions. I'm definitely not gonna use the regular potions anymore. I'll be lucky if I get anything back for this, but we'll fine. And then that's enough melon pies for at least 2 parties, so I'm not gonna worry about getting more than that. Do I want to gear her now? Does anyone in chat right now care about watching me choose equipment to toss on her? Or is a general preference to just have me take care of all the spring cleaning between streams? And if you don't care either way, then you can just say nothing. I'm also good with that. In which case, I'll just do it between streams. Ah, she's so agile. Ah, she's so quick. Okay, I enjoy knowing what works and what doesn't. Alright, so screw everybody else in chat that wanted otherwise. Spit and spin, my dude. So common practice, whenever I'm deciding on like a new milestone worth of equipment, like whether to like a new slate, like certain, like you just hit like 18, so you're aware that there's a whole bunch of like 18 specific equipment that could be out there, or level 10 or whatever. If you know that there's going to be a big wardrobe change, I do recommend setting up a macro, an equip set macro. You don't have to call it naked. I called it naked, NEKKID. You can call it naked or no clothes or whatever your preferred non sequitur. This, as you can imagine, is set up to take off literally everything. That way I can like equip pieces as I grab them off of the auction house, and I don't have to. I then know what I'm still missing. So if I'm completely naked and I buy a headpiece and I look at my equipment and I have a headpiece equipped, I can already have the knowledge that I probably looked at everything head related, and that was the best that I could do, or that was the best that I could afford. So I'm gonna equip this, make her completely naked, avert your eyes. This is now a PG-13 stream. Oh. And that takes off literally everything. Okay. The very first thing that you're going to want to look for, generally speaking, or at least I'm speaking to myself more so, is what type of weapon you are going to generally be using or trying to skill up on. For me, mages are primarily going to be like clubs and stuff, because clubs are where you get the meat and potatoes, intelligence, and mind increases from. There is an argument that could be maybe squeezed out that black mages have a higher staff skill, but you're not going to be meleeing. You shouldn't be meleeing. I've seen people try to melee. If you're not already skilled in it, even if you are skilled in it, you're going to be hitting for so little that the time that you are spending trying to actively hit the monster with your staff is not only putting you in active danger from like AoEs and stuff like that, it's also robbing you of potential MP that you could have gotten back if you were just resting in between spellcasts. So I'm not going to get a staff. They do give you like very small, I'll just look just for fun. They do give you very small HP MP increases, but they're so inconsequential typically. It's just not generally worth considering. Like +6 MP is pretty good. That's almost like up to a cure. But for the most part, I would just stick with clubs, because like if your whole shtick was maxing out the most MP that you could make an argument for saves. I'm just gonna go with the Willow Wands, because I know that's basically where I incline to. Like, not only is it increasing your damage in a way that MP can't, but it's also increasing your magical accuracy, which matters in how often you're resisted. You can have all the MP in the world, it's not going to matter if you're getting resisted more often compared to if you just went all in on like intelligence or mind or whatever. Because I happen to have the revenue to do so, I'm going to spring for a Willow Wand +1, because it's also pretty cheap. It has to be like a very easy, cheap wand to make for it to actually not cost that much. As a Galka, you could definitely all in on MP, for sure. If you're a white mage, the like your allies aren't going to resist cures, right? So having more MP in that instance is gonna matter the most. If you're like a black mage, maybe you could go halfsies on it, but even then I would still go in on intelligence. Unless you are really stacked on MP type stuff, like you have like you're eating melon pies, you have like the hairpin +1s, you have the I forget, the astral rings, right? That takes away 25 HP to give you back 25 MP. Like, you can make the difference so extreme that it will give you more than Tartar levels of MP, which could matter genuinely. Like, sometimes it does come down to the difference of being able to cast one more spell. I personally value things like magical accuracy and damage potential in a situation like this, where that's my whole goal as like a black mage. So giving up a little bit more MP to be more sure when I'm trying to land things is worth it to me. But there could be arguments either way. Later on, when you get access to more tools in general that give you outsized amounts of MP, you could definitely make the reasonable argument that I'm just gonna go all in on MP because my the food that I'm eating is gonna make up the difference or something. Like there's different reasons that you could rationalize it. Did I actually buy that? There's an individual named Silver Slut. Very good. I did buy the Willow one. So I bought the Willow one. I'm gonna equip that. That also means I'm going to sell back my level 1 wand. And I'm generally just concerned with getting back my money as quick as possible. So I have the arguably bad habit of underselling the stuff that I'm selling back. If you're willing to like nickel and dime the market in order to get back what you had invested, definitely go for it. I just want my shit back. So 2 different types of equipment I could go for here. I go for Traveler's Hat if I'm trying to squeeze as much mileage out of my cures I'm going to be throwing out occasionally to help the main healer out. But to me, having the ability to cast 1 whole extra spell is worth it over perhaps giving 1 more HP's worth of cure any given moment. So I'm gonna buy the brass hairpin. I'm gonna try to undersell a little bit. Succeeded on that. So I have a headpiece now. Neck. There's not gonna be much choice here. Find Justice. I do have a Justice badge already. That is in my Mog wardrobe. What else do I have in my Mog wardrobe? I need to actually check that from my White Mage. Nope. I have... Okay, so I do have... I should have checked this first. It didn't even occur to me that I had already put stuff in my wardrobe, much less had access to my wardrobe in general. I have 2 energy earrings that I'm going to equip now, which gives me plus 6 more MP, so we're already at 17 MP, because I can do math. Can't equip the Fire's Rope yet. Missile Cape, which is way more expensive than what it's worth, for sure. I don't know what it actually drops from or what quest gives it. But I was kind of going hard on the White Mage because I wasn't sure if she was going to live long enough to see anything different. So we still need a body. There's not really much choice in the body right now. There is this, the Royal Footman's Tunic, which does give me intelligence. Perhaps I will want that. I know I literally just bought the brass hairpin and I should have checked for this first, excuse me. But it's a pretty iconic piece of gear that has pretty good defense because you're losing out a head slot on it. You know what? Fuck it. We're doing it live. I'm assuming direct control. I'm going to completely... There we go. Look at that. Over here kind of peeks out a little bit. It's kind of neat, I guess. You do be kind of looking kind of hoey though, so we're gonna get our pants. Not that there's anything wrong with that. To my legions of... You're gonna write it yourself and do it live? Yeah, exactly. Free sword slaps. Also way more expensive than what they're worth, but you know, she could die tomorrow, man. She deserves... And by tomorrow, I mean next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, or your regional equivalent. Come on, dude. Really? I'm not gonna overpay for this. 600, 7600. Are these people crazy? There's 3, dude. It's not a freaking Emperor's hairpin. 8 is the highest I'm gonna go. 8 is the highest I'm gonna go. 8 is the highest I'm gonna go. Yeah, definitely not worth. Let's go. At least she's decent now, in the eyes of our Lord. Altana or Prometheia. Mitts are fine. not really a fan of wearing functionally winter gear in terms of the look, but if I really care at any point, I can just like style lock it out, I guess. And now she needs stuff for her footsies. Ash, is there no? Yeah, there's Celia. Fine. Okay. Celia's good. And then how about rings? There are 2 level 10 rings. Or +2 attribute rings that I'm gonna want. Just for fun, let's look at how much this is. Fuck you, dude. 100,000? What's wrong with these people? I mean, obviously people are paying for it, but like that's just disgusting, dude. Like the only reason you would ever, like you would have to have so much disposable income to be able to rationalize that. Like even if you were to sell it back, like that's literally 200,000 that you're investing into 2 whole points of intelligence. Just not worth. What the fuck? Sell the copper hairpin and hermit's rings, and we'll need that anymore. Wow, they really jumped up. 5,000. No, no. 5,000. Can I please? I just need to relax. 4. That's good. Okay, so what are we missing? Waste? It shouldn't really. The only thing that I would really want to get is like the Hiko Obi +1, but you know, I'm not gonna get hit, so why would I need that? Lamau. 500. What is a Hiko Obi? Is it a towel? Because that is what it looks like. I don't think there's anything that black mages can equip in their shield slot. There is not. And I'm almost certain that there's nothing that they can equip in their ammo slot. So I would say, like, kind of circling back to what your original question was, like, would it be worth it to have more MP versus intelligence? If whatever the thing is giving you generally 8 or more MP versus like a point of intelligence, that's probably the trade-off point for me versus one or the other. You can throw pebbles. Interesting. Okay. So we have, I'm gonna check. No, I shouldn't need to check white mage spells. I've already got everything that I can reasonably. Just doing one more courtesy check. There's not really a situation that I can imagine that people are going to ask me to use bio over Dia, so I'm just not even going to buy it, even though it's probably cheap. It's going to take up like a visual slot. Isn't there something at 15? I'll hold off on buying things like Senega and stuff like that. I'm not really going to have an opportunity to use that. All right. Let me check my regional points. 2,600. That's pretty good. I'm going to see /find instant. I have no instant warps, and I'm definitely going to use one. As you can imagine, as a hardcore Iron Man character, I do not have the mercy of blood warping. If I ever lose the hardcore status, this character is dead forever. So I do not have the luxury of just going outside, dying quick on a level 1 character, and then warping back to wherever I want. Grab instant warp. That also means that I don't have to worry about things like re-raise earrings. Re-raise earrings or scrolls of instant re-raise or high re-raisers or anything like that. I don't have to worry about investing any coinage into those. Who knew that being able to die easily, quickly into anything would be so freeing? Right, guys? Right, smiley face. The melon pies are good. I don't have to worry about anything else. I should buy, because we're going to be going into a partying environment. I'm going to want high potions, because although I want to be able to say that I trust my fellow man to keep me alive, there have been a not small number of situations where that has almost proven not the case. So we're gonna grab some high potions. Ooh, let's see if I can get it cheaper than that. Ooh, I'm gonna grab 3. I forget how much they actually give you. I think it's like 90 or something. Let me double check on that. Glancing, researching, high potion. It is 100 HP. That's good to know. They also don't cause you the medicated effect. What is my MP at right now? Let me check to see how much a high ether is, because it could matter. There's rare situations where the whole party is completely strapped on MP, and then your choice is either to pray that you killed the thing or run away or die. 10 seconds to use? Disgusting. Is there anything else? Oh my god. We're living in some hard knocks, man. What about regular ether? Does that take 10 seconds? I only want 1.5 seconds, a whole 20 MP. That sucks. Why does it take 10 seconds? I might as well just buy 3 ethers and just slam them back, if that saves me 4 seconds. I want to talk to the devs. I want a personal meeting with the devs. How much are ethers? High ethers are literally cheaper. You know what? It could matter. 10 seconds though, dude. I guess it saves me from having to rest in like an emergency situation, but if it's an emergency, 10 seconds is basically like an eternity. Fine. Okay. So I have my oh shit buttons, including my super oh shit button. I'm gonna have a few more slots left. I'll do the rest off screen, because all I'm going to be doing is going back to my mock house, depositing all my shit, then going back out and probably grabbing pineapple drinks. So I have a little bit of sustain if things start looking bad. But as a black mage, I have more control over my own fate in general than I was when I was white mage. Because at least as white mage, you can't control you getting hate or keeping hate. Your job is to heal people. Even if you're being careful about it, you're going to get the monsters hate on you. At least with black mage, I'll have the ability to do like an elemental seal sleep or something to stop the monster and then in its tracks and then just hide it forever. But this is a very productive stream. We got a couple follows out of it. Seemed productive. My plants are ready to be harvested, so that's exciting. We achieved level 10. Next stream there's a very unlikely going to be a stream tomorrow. I need to rest my voice. Apparently, talking nonstop for literally 3.5 hours is hard on it. Next stream for sure is going to be on Monday on my main character. Very likely going to be just leveling ninja. That's probably what it's going to be. I'll be very surprised if it's not that. So Monday, 7 p.m. I will see you guys there. Thank you for joining me on the journey. Next time with this character is going to be next Friday. And we're going to expose her to the dunes and all the magic and wonder that includes, no pun intended. Alrighty, I'm gonna take a look and see who I can send you guys off to. just to make sure that I improve another streamer's quality of life by sending them a veritable horde of viewers to boost their numbers. So let's scroll down to here. You can stare at the fire while I do this. She likes looking at the fire. And I did promise last time that I would give her a bed if she survived. I'm probably gonna do that. Because we could make it a thing that she's like leveling up her apartment the longer that she lives as like an extra incentive to keep her alive. Let's see. Horizon 11. Horizon streamers. Let's see. Let's check this person out. Pardon me while I do so. Just trying to find one that has a pretty low number of viewers. Okay. This Cropto person seems to be a good fit. Alright, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. You might be getting a prompt shortly. Have a good one.